Constellation, Last Stand Media's conversational podcast, is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our podcast network, head to patreon.com/laststandmedia.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Constellation, Last Stand Media's conversational podcast. I'm your host, Dagan Dagster Moriarty. Now, if you're noticing that the usual dulcet tones of the old voice are coming through a little different today, please know that the Dagster is struggling with, I don't know, like a bit of seasonal allergies or an acute pneumonia. I have no idea what's going on at this point. Jory's still out, but just know that if you're thinking the Dagster has sounded better, something's ailing me. I don't know what it is. We're going to get through this, though, okay? You may even say, hey, the Dagster never sounded better, but whatever. And the usual smooth, honey-dripped, buttery voice is hurting a little bit today. I'm going to do my best. We're going to get through this. What you hear from the actual Dagster will be a quality over quantity thing. I'm going to let my friends here do the heavy lifting, do most of the talking. 88% of you right now are like, thank God. So it's gonna work out. And I shall bravely steer the ship. On that note, speaking of which, let me give my co-conspirators their propers here, starting with everybody's favorite mama. You know her as Mama Micah. I know her as my sister-in-law. You jealous sons of a guns. What's up, Micah? What's going on today, my friend?
Hello. I'm doing quite well. I am having a dilemma, though, that I don't know if this is a nationwide issue or what. I'm really struggling to find my favorite brands of charcoal in my area, and I can order them online, but it's less than ideal because the charcoal, kind of gets roughed up, and then you end up with a lot of really small pieces.
Oh.
And I don't, like last summer, I could find my favorite charcoal, which is Jealous Devil Max XL briquettes, okay?
What?
And that's my favorite charcoal. I could buy it easily at Walmart, Lowe's, and Home Depot. And this year, no one has it locally, and I have to order it online. And it's the same price. It's not like it's an upcharge, but I'm like, what is going on here? And then I was like, all right, I'll see if I can get some B&B charcoal. They don't have that either. They don't have the Kingsford competition briquettes. Like, I don't know what is going on around here. They don't even have the Royal Oak supersized briquettes, which I also like. All right. Like, there's something wrong.
Thanks, Trump.
But it's all online, though. The thing is, there's plenty to go around. It's not out of stock. It's just not in my local area. All they have is like the Kingsford Original, which is fine. I'm not knocking it, but it's not ideal.
Kingsford Original, that's like the telltale supermarket brand in like the red, white, and blue bag, right? Like that's what everybody would know.
And it's perfectly good charcoal, like excellent flavor, burns hot, lights quickly. It creates a lot of ash though. And so I switched to a different brand simply because I didn't have to clean out so much ash from my grill. Otherwise, it's a perfectly fine charcoal. I actually, recently, Colin and I were on a walk, and there was a charcoal briquette on the sidewalk. And I was like, that's a piece of Kingsford. And he was like, how do you know that? And I was like, it's got a little K on it. Like, I could have had him thinking I was some charcoal savant, but I was like, no, there's the logo's on it right there. But I might have to start buying Kingsford again. Only because it's like, I can get this online, but it arrives and it's, so much of it's crushed from shipping. So I just want to put that out there. I don't know if any other barbecue enthusiasts are having this same issue, but I am struggling to find these brands. It seems like every hardware store is just like, we're just going to carry Kingsford and Cowboy brand, which sucks.
Oh,
all right.
No. So they're cornering the market. See, I just typed in for you, what's going on with charcoal? Nothing's coming up. It's saying, does charcoal cause cancer? Well, that type of thing, but nothing about like supply issues that I could see.
See, it's funny that you say that because tangentially, we've been having a problem with onions around here. Where like you will pick up a perfectly good onion, you slice into it, black in the middle.
What?
And I did Google what's going on with onions, and that is a nationwide problem.
Whoa.
It's like
something
a blight?
went wrong. people who are familiar with farming are saying that something went wrong in the process where they would dry the onions, I guess. That's what they're guessing. Because like I was buying the bags of onions, okay? And I kept getting duds. And I said, all right, I'm going to get the pick your own onions where like you individually choose them. And I would, I'm choosing onions that are perfectly firm, no blemishes. And then like they look pristine. I slice into them. They're either black in the middle or just like brown and mushy. And it's like, something's wrong with these onions, man. And that actually turned out to be a nationwide problem. So I felt better having Googled what's wrong with the onions.
It is funny what happens when we get rid of the FDA. It's so weird. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Anyway,
maybe the onions and the charcoal thing, maybe they're coke. There's some kind of co-conspiracy going on because those both seem like an outside barbecue problem.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, because a lot of people use onions to clean their grill grates. I don't do that. It's a waste of a good onion.
What?
But it's perfectly effective. We eat a lot of onions here. I'm not wasting half of one to clean a grill, man. Like it's just unnecessary.
Micah, may I advocate for the sweet Vidalia onion rather than the yellow onion?
Of course, yeah.
Has this been a problem for those as well?
So I only buy sweet onions typically.
Okay.
And we have had to switch to yellow onions because those ones are better. I still have gotten a couple that are weird, but like it was the sweet onions, I literally was getting maybe 50% of them were rotten when I'd slice into it.
What the hell?
And I was like, this is just a waste of money. And I know you can return them to the store, but it's like I save my store returns like on groceries for the big problems. Like I bought meat that was rancid. Like I'm not trying to return 50 cents worth of potatoes because one of them was bad inside. Like
have you been having potato problems? Because I've been having potato problems. No,
is that right?
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot more greening very quickly.
Yes. Yeah. So I have had to switch to the potatoes you choose yourself because I have gotten a bag and it's like half the potatoes were green. That would justify a return because you're not supposed to eat the green potatoes. You're supposed to peel off all the green. And so that's a whole other thing. So yeah, but the potatoes, when I pick them myself and just actively choose ones that aren't green, they're fine. Like they're fine in the middle. There's no issues there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, Micah, I'm glad you're here. I want you to take a rest from these food problems for a while. Take a break from these food anxieties.
I can't rest, Dagan, my beloved grill. I grilled already 3 times in the past 7 days. How am I supposed to continue that pace if I can't get my charcoal?
Yeah, they're making it hard on you. I have to say.
Well, the Twitter sphere is missing a number of butthole bread pictures from you. We haven't seen one of those in a while, so
maybe it's time to get that back.
Yeah, maybe it's time to get some anus bread going again.
I could go back to baking bread in lieu of grilling. I could get back to bake. I could also do a Willet bread machine and just try and start cooking a bunch of stuff in there.
Yeah.
Just see what happens.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Micah, I'm also writing this down for the future when you and I are on together. Onion topic. And the first sort of point of conversation is going to be, why do yellow onions make you cry and sweet onions don't? It's a mystery to me.
Oh, yeah. No, that's literally, they sell them. There is a brand of sweet onions here that is called tearless onions. And because they're like, yeah, these won't make you cry. Although I don't cry for chopping onions as long as I have my contacts in.
Oh.
That's the number one perk of wearing contacts is the onion
shield.
Whatevers don't hit your eyes.
I never thought of that.
Which one makes you cry?
Yellow. It's typically, right? They have.
Yeah, but any onion but sweet, really. The sweet ones usually don't make you cry. I think it's something to do with the amount of sulfur in the onion, but don't quote me on that. I feel like that's just something I saw once.
I thought it was sort of internalized guilt from Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
That would be interesting if people never cried from onions before that. It just started in the 50s.
No, once I was like, that was the deal we made with Oppenheimer. It's like, I'll give you the bomb, but it's pretty bad. So I'm going to need you to, it's like a fable forevermore. Whenever you would cut a yellow onion, you would think, listen, it's not easy having this particular brain that I put in this morning. Okay. Sometimes I get mixed up which one I should put in my head. And this is the one we got today, boys. I'm sorry.
Thank God. Who's that talking, Chapster?
Well, hi, my name's Brad.
Today. He's
hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. It's nice to see you. It's always good to be here. What fun topics, what fun menu of discussion we have today. Yeah, things are wonderful. I appreciate you having me, fellas and filleties.
2 people from sunny California, sunny SoCal today.
Yeah.
Which I love. So jealous of you guys. The weather out here is
beautiful yesterday.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous.
Oh, I'm so jealous. We're in that, I don't know, Virginia may be a little different, but up here in Philly, we're in that swing where it could be 30 degrees at night and 80 degrees during the day. And it's like, no wonder everybody's getting sick. No one knows. The trees don't know what to think. The flowers like, do we do this? The people are like, what the fuck? Like, it's like that confusing time of the year in the Northeast where it's like, doesn't know what season it is. That's when I crave Southern California in general, but Southern California in particular.
But just to balance it out, remember, we're all paying like $5,000 a month to live under the freeway. So,
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the weather, come on. It's almost worth it.
Yeah, the weather's
If
nice.
you're going to live under an overpass, you
It's
may
a
as
beautiful
well do it.
state, but they'll fuck you financially.
Bradley Ellis, my friends. Brad, it's good to see
Hello.
you, my dude.
Good to see you guys. Dagan, nice to see you.
Awesome to see you.
I talked about this briefly before we started filming, but the people have been asking for Dagan on Summertime. Let it be on the record that Dagan now knows, so you can stop bugging me. It's up to Dagan
I love it.
To answer the call one day.
I love it. I'd love to. I was just telling Brad and company that I'm back to playing video games after like probably a hard year off.
Mhm.
Just 2024 was nuts. Not in a bad way, just busy. Good to be busy, but back in full swing, especially with Knockback now playing games. And, Colin and I are planning to do a couple of knockbacks a month, at least one a month. And it's going to be mostly video game topics now.
Yeah.
So that kind of holds my feet to the fire in terms of staying up to date with games or revisiting games that are slightly older. And so I'm back, baby.
Yeah, you've been playing long games too. You guys just did Final Fantasy V.
Yeah.
Which is pretty long.
Great, very long, great game. Another game completely unspoiled, never played it. Always wondered why we never got it in the States. Just figured, by association that it was terrible, that it was never released in the West, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And had never heard as much. So that was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. I just played it for the first time like 2 years ago, I think, as well, Dagan. And I enjoyed it. It was good.
So good.
I don't like it as much as like 4 or 6, but
no,
it's
not
still
to
really
that
good.
degree. But half as good is even good compared to those games,
Yeah.
right? Those
Yeah,
legendary games.
I gotta say,
yeah,
also,
go ahead, dude.
I thought Jaffe was eating a Slim Jim for a while, but it's just his pipe. I was like,
You're
whoa.
not used to
Yeah.
I
No.
couldn't see the bottom of it, and I just
No.
saw this like Slim Jim looking thing coming out.
No, I should have taken the time to explain, but I was so transfixed by the fact that Dagan has a hat with a D on it to remind himself of his name, I assume.
Yeah, that's like a Charlie Brown character thing.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I have a collection of them, by the way. And then, Jaffe, weren't you on? Was it you that was on with me and Colin when we realized Duke sues everybody for invoking their logo and their name where it's not authorized? So I had a Post-it note over the D for that whole episode.
No, I did not. Hey, but Duke is going to be playing my beloved Auburn this week. I'm very excited. Very excited. That's I think that's locked. No, Final Four is Friday, right? And then Monday is the final two. I don't think they've locked in the championship game yet. There's 4 people left: Auburn, Duke, 2 others I forget.
Okay,
fuck them.
That's right. That's your alma mater. I think, Jaffe.
It's not my alma mater, but I root for Auburn all the time.
Oh, that's right. You went to USC.
USC, yeah.
That's right. I always forget that. Did you graduate from USC?
I didn't graduate at all. No.
Oh, okay. We definitely talked about this.
Yeah.
That's the school I wish I went to. So you already have one up on me. I would have definitely tried.
It was fun. It was cool. I mean, I should have never gone to college, frankly, but I really shouldn't have. I mean, I didn't go. Yeah, it was not the reason I went. It was a long story, different story, but yeah, good school though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I was going to say, my daughter is probably going, I don't know if I talked to you about this, to the University of Miami.
Fun.
And they have to be a rival of Auburn, right? In basketball and football, they must be.
Not definitely. I mean, football. I mean, I don't even know what's the name of the college team at Miami.
Oh, the Hurricanes.
No, I mean they might be, but we never. It's usually like, LSU, Alabama, Gators, Florida Gators, stuff like
Gators,
that.
That's it.
Yeah, but
Right.
Miami, I mean, come on. Cocaine's a powerful drug, but if the entire team is on it, I mean, there's going to come a point where you can't focus on what you need to do. So,
yeah, no, those schools make sense for sure.
That's fun. Miami, though, she's going to have a fucking crazy time if she.
Everybody says that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on how studious she is. If she's like studying, she'll be great, but you're going to lose your fucking self in Miami. At least, hopefully, she will responsibly.
Yeah, South Beach. Yeah, Coral Gable. I mean, it's like, it's going to be a true test.
Yeah,
of her commitment.
Is she going to be like what, 18 then, or is she going to?
She's college? She just turned 18.
Okay, so she's going straight into university. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, she's a real beach kid. She loves the warm weather, which is why she didn't want to go to Syracuse, which was her other she wanted to go to a good school for advertising. You know.
Oh sure.
Even that though, dude, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get into AI shit because I know you guys. We all know where we stand on that. But I was seeing some of the AI shit for advertising the other day, and it's just like, what's the point at this point?
It's taken over.
You know,
I know.
Yeah. And what's cool about it though is you can change the fucking branding in real time. So you know, hey, if you're Coke and Pepsi shot the ad, but you want to pay more money and their contract expired, not a problem. Now it's Coke.
It's insane.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I'm a little worried about it. Animation and graphic design, especially, forget it.
Over.
It's kind of over.
Yeah.
You know, advertising kind of the next step down, but I'm still worried about it, but not as worried as the other two things. But everything, you know, the companies are going to really have to decide where their philosophies bend in terms of their commitment to either saying we're doing this or we're not doing this. I think most of them haven't declared either way.
I think
it's all money, but the issue becomes where are they going to find customers if no one's working because the AI is taking everybody's job?
I know.
So that's more of the really interesting part about it is that if everybody jumps on the bandwagon, which they probably will because they're corporations, who's got the money to buy the shit? So
that's a great point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's breaking it down to brass tacks, but that's a great way to boil it down to, to what end? You know, those three words, to what end?
Yep.
Right. We'll talk about this a lot on this show, I'm sure, over the course of the year, especially.
Yep.
But Brad.
Yeah.
I thought if you guys are ready, I like to start with your topic because it's timely. We might as well talk about it in a timely fashion. We're days into this news, and I'll say no more. I'll let you launch into it.
Yeah, we got an interesting update relating to this today as well, so we'll talk about that. But my topic is the Switch 2 that just recently Nintendo fully showed off on April 2nd. Me and Micah talked about it a lot on our Nintendo podcast, Punching Up, so I'll be pretty brief with a lot of my opinions on it as well. But Micah, I'll go to you, of course, but I want to start with Dagan and stuff first. But before we say that, I want to know, Dagan, what you think about the console itself. What do you think about the games they've shown? If you had a chance to look at it, what do you think about the recent thing that Nintendo announced today where the pre-order date is changing due to tariffs? The release date will be the same here in the United States, but the pre-order date, which was supposed to be the 9th, we don't know when it's going to be now. But it's only for the United States, but they have said the release date will not change, but who knows? Things can change. I have no idea.
Okay.
So
now, release date is still, what is it, June 5th?
Yes. Okay. Let's start with that first day, and then we'll get into the happy stuff, all the good stuff.
All right. That sounds good.
What do you think about this? Pretty interesting that they just had their full reveal on Wednesday, and now 2 days later, 2 days later, they're like, well, hold up. Change your plans.
I guess we're going to see this with a lot of things, not just electronics, not just consoles.
Can you just explain, just so there's context for me when Dagan answers?
Yes.
Why would I understand why the tariffs affect the price, but why would they affect the pre-order date?
We don't know. They just announced it today, so I'm not sure. Maybe they're just being extremely cautious and trying to cover all their bases. I don't know. Because it's interesting because a lot of the rumors about Switch 2 is they've had a lot of these made for a long time already.
Oh.
So
if you pre-order it and put X percent down, but that percent of the final changes, they could end up taking a bath if they expect to sell it. I mean, they've already announced the price, though, right?
Yes, they did. Yeah. They did announce the price. So it's very. There's a lot of questions still, Jaffe, for sure on that. And we just found out about this morning. So we're going to learn more, I assume, or I hope. But yeah, I'm curious because it's a little unusual for this to happen.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we're in a really weird political and financial climate, so
Yeah.
I could see the fallout affecting Nintendo and basically everybody else. But that is really interesting. I guess, as Jaffe says, it's good to have that context. It comes down to some sort of would-be supply and demand issue. Make sure they're covering their bases. I'm sure people are going to be clamoring for the console despite the higher price point, which I think was somewhat expected.
Without anything. If it's $500 if you get it with Mario Kart.
Right. Which makes Mario Kart World $50, right?
Yes, instead of $80.
Right? Which seems fair. I think we expected the higher price. I mean, I'm excited. I'm a huge Nintendo fan.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we've talked about on
Punching Up alumni right here. Founder.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
They've been killing it over the last couple of few years. They're going in with a lot of goodwill, I think, with the consumer and their fan base and their would-be fan base, and maybe even their fan base that fell away, Right. But they've definitely, said some controversial things. We know the price of what now. They say Mario Kart World separately over $80, right?
Yep,
Is that
it's $80?
Right?
Yeah,
which
in the
is,
United States at least.
Is
which
it true
is
about the physical is 90?
No, that's not true.
No. Physical is
Same price.
Okay. So
in the
digital,
United States
physical,
only,
same price.
that I know
okay,
of.
that's good to know.
I don't know about anywhere else in the world.
Which is a shock to the system for a lot of people. I give them some credit for courage to get it out earlier in the offing. The game does look very impressive. I mean, here's my thoughts with Nintendo. You guys know in my return to video games over the last month what I'm playing. I'm like really not in a very Nintendo headspace right now, based on what Colin and I are playing right now for Knockback and what we have planned right after that. That being said, I'm a huge fan of Nintendo. I am rooting for them. I think that price point is a little controversial. I think it kind of brings back the goodwill. It kind of walks back, I should say, the goodwill a little bit, in that we've gotten a lot of good news and a lot of fan-friendly sort of updates from them over the last few years, insofar as software, insofar as hardware. I like that it's becoming real. I know you asked in your email if we're going to day one this. Now, I have to tell, for some context, when the Switch came out 2017, right?
Yep.
I was day one-ing that shit all over the place. Like, I might have been the first person in Philadelphia to get one. Like, it was like ridiculous. And that, I realized that was direct result of the trauma inflicted when the Wii came out, where it took me 7 months to get one. Like, you couldn't find them in the Northeast. It was insane. Ultimately, Colin had to find one in San Fran and mail it to me. The console had already been out like 8 months, So I realized that was a direct knee-jerk reaction to, like, I'm not missing out again. That being said, I think Mario Kart World looks amazing. DK Bonanza looks fantastic. I think if they had announced, which I was waiting for in the direct, I was there watching live. I think if they announced a brand new mainline Mario game, that would have been enough for me to confirm 100% day one. I'm less excited with the Mario Kart World thing, as amazing as it looks and as much fun as I know my family's going to have with that game. Huge Mario Kart fans, the four of us. So I'm going to wait and see. Yeah. I'm going to wait and see. Sure. I think there's going to be a little bit of FOMO not having it early, and that may be enough to hold my feet to the fire to get it relatively early on, if not, opening day, first day. But I am excited. I think we have to temper expectations a little bit. I think we also have to realize I'm not playing defense attorney to Nintendo. Obviously, they got it sewn up in the litigious world, but I think we have to kind of adopt a wait and see policy as far as, like, they're still a corporation. They still have to stay in the black. And not every bit of news coming out of a big company like this is going to be, news that we relish or that we want to hear. The price point of games is a really controversial issue, because people are, like I've said a lot, I feel like this country's in a recession for the first time without that being acknowledged in words, in not so many words. I feel like people are really struggling. And the last thing people want to hear, many people, and the last thing they want to hear is that the price of goods is going up. People are struggling to, buy homes, and the interest rates are still super high, and pay rates and salaries haven't gone up. So there's a lot going on. Tariffs, people are worried. There's a high level of anxiety. That being said, I do kind of celebrate the transparency of Nintendo saying this is what it's going to be. And maybe it's just that, and maybe this is being optimistic, but maybe it's just that the price point of these games, first party Nintendo, big games, this is what they're going to cost now. Maybe it's just that it's new. We have to come around to it.
It's just Mario Kart that's 80. Donkey Kong's not 80.
That's so interesting to me. And what are they citing there? The fact that it's open world and you could drive anywhere, and that it's just really expansive game?
If they are, or if it's just kind of one of these things like, hey, we're going to support this game for 10 years or whatever.
Right.
There's going to be DLC or probably whatever you got to pay for, like Mario Kart 8 had. Or if it's just one of those things like, yeah, we know we can do that. Everyone's going to buy this. Mario Kart was the best selling game on Switch. I forgot how many it sold, like 60 million or more, something crazy like that. So, or 50 something million.
Can you imagine playing Mario Kart in the last 10 years and not thinking it's not worth at least 80, assuming it's going to be at least as good as 8? I mean, the amount of playtime you get from that particular game, maybe Nintendo's just like, look, Bonanza is going to probably take you, 12 to 30 hours, depending on how much of a completionist you are.
Sure.
This game you're going to be playing after the Switch 3 comes out, probably. So of course we're going to charge $80 for it. I get it. I
get it 100% as well. Yeah. I mean, obviously I don't want to pay more, but I understand it. But it's interesting because it feels like the beginning of Dagan and Jeff. You'll remember this for sure. Is when we were younger, like the cartridge days, all that stuff. Game prices were kind of all over the place. Some games were 50, or some games were 80s.
Yeah,
it's like you guys remember spending like $80. I remember like Donkey Kong Country 2 was, I think, $80 when I got it or something like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like PlayStation, I think, came around when they did CDs that stuff started to get a lot cheaper, right, Jeff?
Yeah, there was a little
parity. 39 or 49 if I remember.
Yeah, it became like standardized almost, that price.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Sorry, Dagan, go ahead.
No, not at all. I mean, you guys make a great point. This is going to be the Mario Kart game for a decade, so they'd be and they might be looking at like we're shooting ourselves in the feet by not, this is going to be our only offering. What they could do now, you guys may be able to speak to the logistics of this because maybe this makes no sense, but maybe if they come out with the promise of DLC and new content will always be free and stuff like that, you're paying the $80 outright. And then for the next however many years, whenever we have a new rollout of tracks, of, outfits, of vehicles, that kind of thing, it'll always be, you've paid, it's a one and done type of thing.
So what I assume it's going to be, because this is what they did the last one, Dagan, is if you have the Nintendo Switch Online, I think it's called like Expansion Pass subscription, then all of it, you get with the subscription.
Okay.
So I think that's how they'll do a lot of stuff. You know how like a lot of the retro games, that's how you get their games. It's the only way to get their games. So
sure, yeah,
that seems to be kind of their thing now. Of just locking you into these subs for a long time. That's what they want. It seems like.
See, I think if you think of it that way, and as you guys say, the longevity of the game, that this is going to be the stand. It's Mario Kart 9, right? Look at Mario Kart 8. They milked that thing for a decade, right? So if they're going to continue that tradition, I think even at $80, if you play this game at least sometimes, you're going to be able to wring a lot of value out of it. And it's a first party Nintendo thing. The quality is going to be high. I mean, the game looks gorgeous, and that whole open world of like drive virtually anywhere element of it, which ushers in a whole new level of excitement to Mario Kart. I don't know. Again, not to be overly positive, I understand people's concerns about things being expensive in this world where they can't afford, people are struggling with groceries. But that being said, you're going to get what you pay for, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think you'll get a lot of value out of the game. It's just, I think it's just like the sticker shock or whatever, it's like the first game really that's kind of setting this precedent, I suppose, for the standard edition of a game. So
Sure.
I don't know.
Well,
We will see, I guess, how people react to it. But Dagan, I am curious about Metroid Prime 4. I know Colin likes Metroid Prime. I don't really know where you stand on this.
I have very little experience with Metroid Prime as a series, but I love sort of first person Metroid. I think it's brilliant. I think it's super fun. And I'm looking forward to just to jump in and sort of reacclimate myself with something I haven't played in years. I mean, since the GameCube. So it's been a long time for me. And I think it's brilliant. I think Metroid's still probably my second favorite Nintendo IP. I love it so much. And that's what I wonder, though, and coming full circle with Nintendo first party, like when we do get, are they kind of establishing a precedent now? Like when we do get that next mainline Mario game to follow Odyssey, whenever that is, it's going to be within the first couple of years of launching the Switch 2, right?
I think
is that going to be $80 as well?
I think is when they'll do it.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense to me. Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. You know,
maybe
and they're very good at establishing those sort of milestone dates of keeping the excitement ratcheted up. Like, you know what I mean? There's always something to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is it Mario's 40th anniversary this year, or is that next year? I'm not sure.
That's a good point. Well, you know they have that all planned out. You know,
I want to say, was it like 85 or something? I'm trying to remember. Let's see, how old was Mario? 40.
Don't you guys think too? Like, while Brad looks at this, don't you think people are going to pay the $80 for Nintendo, their main franchise? You know, main installations in those franchises: Zelda, Metroid, Mario, of course. People are going to pay $80 for it.
Right.
Just not, who's going to miss out on a mainline Mario or Zelda game, right? If you're a Nintendo fan in the slightest, you know, just for FOMO. I mean, I still have that at 51 years old. Now, I grew up a huge Nintendo fan, so maybe that's a holdover effect for somebody like me.
I think the Nintendo thing is really difficult to know at this point who, at least for me, because I saw the stats recently that said the majority of people who play the Switch are in their 20s. Which was surprising. So it's hard to ascribe motivation when I don't really know. Are we, a lot of people go, oh, it's a bunch of 7-year-old kids, right? Well, I don't think 7-year-old kids are that interested at the moment in that versus, phone games and PC games that they see streamers playing. So you're right. If the majority of the audience are 20 somethings, I think you're absolutely right. I think Nintendo, I think it's going to be very interesting. And that's a way of basically being kind and saying I like the Switch 2. I like what they showed. I'm very excited. But I also think it's a different time now. And I think when you have something like the Steam Deck, when you have something like the ROG Ally or whatever, and if you're a parent going into one of these stores and going $80, $70, or all my kids are talking about is Minecraft, Fortnite, Repo that just came out, which is ruling the roost. All these demos, all these $9 games. What's the new Section 1 or whatever with the drug dealing? All of these things that you can basically get on another handheld that also plugs into the TV, and you're not going to have to spend $80. I wonder if you're a parent these days, is it as appealing to buy a Nintendo for your kid? A 5-year-old, sure, but like a 10-year-old, does a 10-year-old really want to Switch 2? Or do they want the Steam Deck 2? Or do they want the ROG Ally or however you pronounce it? That would be my only. If I'm Nintendo, they've got to be thinking about that.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Just trying to think how much like a ROG Ally is.
$799.
$800?
Yeah, but remember, it's $800, but that's 3 Nintendo games.
Yeah,
or
that's true.
It's $800 and you get tons of $9 games, demos, Game Pass.
Yeah. How you're saying that, Jeffy, I guess my only rebuttal would be is like, that's a very educated perspective to have upon it. And it makes total sense. I just wonder how many people know or have that much knowledge about it.
Yeah. I think kids are watching a lot. I mean, the thing that has surprised me, and again, I'm surprised how much I want the Switch 2, and I probably won't meet the threshold of you've played your Switch 1 enough to hit the scalper threshold, which I think is a brilliant idea they're doing, to keep scalpers out, right? But even though I'm excited for it, I do think that it's just every day I get more evidence that the younger generation coming up and that have already become young adults, they don't care about this stuff the way we did. And they're much more, they really are influenced by these YouTubers and streamers and people playing these wacky, silly games, and they want to go online and play with their friends and laugh. And that's not a knock against Nintendo. I'm just saying that I think, it's going to be interesting to see if they can still turn over a new set of fans generationally, given that they're not seen as what the kids want today. So
yeah, it's a much different world. I mean, this is a much different world than 2017. It's an excellent point. Not even, 8 to 10 years ago. Yeah, this is launching in a much different climate than the Switch, the Switch proper, the Switch 1 launched. And they are, one thing that's interesting is they are doubling down on you could only get Nintendo with Nintendo and you're going to have to pay for it. Like, so any conjecture of, Nintendo is going to become a software company, they're going to offer their wares on Xboxes, on Game Pass and all this kind of thing. It's like they're definitely doubling down on that's not happening.
Right.
And it's a risk in this climate to be like, it's Nintendo first party, it's Nintendo only. There's no Steam. It's Nintendo console only. It's this whole continued Nintendo proprietary umbrella, which you're doubling down on the quality. Yes, they made a big point, even during the direct, to say all the third party stuff, 100%. Right. So you're going to be able to play everything from you name it. You know what I mean? To Street Fighter 6, everything. There's going to be something for everything that you like here too. But doubling down on especially like the quality of the things they created, and will that hold up in this climate? That's a great point. I don't know. For old fans that can't get enough of that, 20 somethings, 30 somethings, 40 somethings. It is interesting that Nintendo is aging up. I mean, look at the NES. That was literally for children, and when it came out, I was 15 and we loved it. And maybe you'd have an uncle in their early 20s, but it never really went older than that. Yeah. Now it seems like it's not getting younger than that. It's like early 20s is like, that's its wheelhouse now.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So yeah, the culture and the climate and the era is definitely going to play a big part.
Yeah, totally. Jaffe, man, what did you think about the games they showed? What did you think of Mario Kart? First, let's start that.
Well, I mean, okay, so allow me to sort of start higher than that. Like
sure.
30,000, but because it all wraps in, which is, I thought the presentation of the Switch 2 was, I was talking to Colin about this the other day, actually. It was very benign to me. Like it wasn't like, oh my fucking God, and I think we've been conditioned to have that expectation. But what makes Nintendo, I love Nintendo, and what makes them so special is the very thing that makes it hard for their games to generate that kind of response that you get when you see some amazing PlayStation 5 reveal in terms of the fidelity and whatnot. So I had to wait until like IGN, Eurogamer. I think Gene actually got a hands-on and somewhat,
he did. Yeah.
I had to wait to start hearing details about Donkey Kong and Mario to go. Once I started understanding what Mario Kart was, the new one, and how it plays, I'm like, okay, that alone makes me want the hardware. Not to mention Donkey Kong sounds great when I've listened to people who have gone hands-on with it. I love the whole dig dug mechanic and all that.
That's so cool.
It's so why they're so great, because they really do put gameplay and interactivity ahead of everything else. And that's why it's hard to sell that to a lot of people, in the way that they're used to being sold to. But no, I think Mario Kart sounds excellent. I'm very excited by everyone I've heard that have played this mode called the Knockout Tour mode is apparently, and it's really funny because there was a game that came out, and if people don't know, that's like the Battle Royale mode. It's 24 carts, they start, and every X number of laps or whatever, 4 of them drop if you're in the bottom 4. And so it's like a 10 to 12 minute endurance round. And you're not only having the tracks, but you're driving from track to track in the open world to get to the next track. And everyone I've heard who's played it said it is so addictive. It is so, your heart is just, it's constant tension and it's delightful. And I love that. But it's like there was a game that just shut down, which I was so excited about, which was like Battle Royale kart racing. And it was, I forget what it's called, Stampede something or whatever. And it just didn't work for whatever reason. It was just too chaotic and I couldn't figure out what's going on. And it was dead in 6 months. But apparently these guys, because they're Nintendo, they probably recognized that as a weakness and said, oh, well, this is why that's happening. Let's fix it via this, that, and the other. So that mode sounds great. There's not a battle mode, which bothers me, but I'm sure that'll be coming,
right.
Hopefully. But no, I mean, there's kind of some wall riding, there's grinding, the new power-ups that they have talked about sound really cool. I'm super excited for that. Like I said, Donkey Kong, I'm excited for, even though Metroid is a problem because I have to now every, area I enter, I have to, make sure I shoot the fucking roof to make sure I'm not missing any fucking thing. But I, Metroid first person sounds cool, but between Donkey Kong, Mario Kart, and the From Software, Dust Bloods, even though I don't think Dust Bloods looks amazing, I think if it is indeed directed by Miyazaki, they say it is, but there's a point where you start to question, I've directed games before and they were much smaller games than games today. I have a hard time believing that guy directed that and he directed the Erd Tree sequel and he's, it's like, he's directing, but still, I love From Software. Miyazaki's my favorite game maker out right now. So I'm very excited for that. So yeah, I will be trying to pre-order it for day one. But I sure wish they'd stop making hardware. I mean, there's a point where it's like, look, what you guys do great besides great business is you make great games. Just fucking make great games.
Yeah.
Stop. It's all going to go away anyway in the next 5-10 years. But do I have to really spend $500 on another fucking my Switch 1 is under the bed right now gathering dust. It's just like, let's get over this. But still, I'm excited. I thought it was great. But the presentation was but it was great.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Micah, we've talked about this quite a bit already. And we'll talk about it more, definitely. But I don't know if any of your thoughts changed or evolved over the past couple of days.
Yeah, the one thing that I want to say, having been a few days removed now from the presentation, I truly think they made a mistake having Mario Kart be the first $80 game. I personally think the value is there. When you look at how long Mario Kart 8 was supported with new DLCs, new tracks, all that, you will get years of gameplay out of this. So I'm not saying it's not potentially worth $80, but I think as you said, the sticker shock is partly tied to it is so easy for people to dismiss it as it's a cartoon racing game and it's $80. And I feel like if they had made Donkey Kong and Mario Kart both $70 and they saved the $80 game for the next Mario Odyssey, the next epic Zelda game, people would have still complained, but it would not have been so easy to dismiss it as it's a cartoon kart racer. And so I think that's just the only real misstep I feel they made, in just that I don't think this should have been the first $80 game that they went with. It the value will be there for people who play it a lot. Like me personally, I'm going to try and get the bundle because I don't think I'll get $80 out of this game. I want to try it so I can talk about it on the show and talk to the listeners about it. But the reality is that I don't have a family who wants to play this game. I will get a few hours out of it, I'm sure, but I'm not going to get $80 worth, I don't think. So for me, I'm definitely going to try and get that bundle that makes it $50
But
instead.
I think that's why, though. Because even Donkey Kong's not a launch game, right? This is probably
it comes out in June.
Right. So they had this ready. And I think the fact that artificial scarcity of, it's only $50 if you buy the bundle, they probably kind of were weighing their options and said, yeah, you're probably right. All things being equal, this could have been a better Zelda price.
Yeah.
But we don't have Zelda right now. But we do have this, and we can get a lot more bundles sold and hardware sold because people are going to say, ooh, I want the bundle. Right. So they probably had to pull that trigger, but I don't know.
That's the thing, is that even if it was $70 like Donkey Kong, $50 instead is still a great savings. That's still $20 off for the bundle. I feel like that still would have motivated enough people, but you're right that it will only motivate them even more to save $30. It's only because, as Dagan mentioned, kind of burning some of your goodwill with your consumers. And I do just see tons of people saying, I can't believe Nintendo is the first company to release the $80 game, in this generation. And it's more so that for me of like, yeah, I know that this is where it's going eventually. And I understand just like this is where it's going and what has to happen. But I do feel like they should have maybe let Sony go first, let Rockstar go first, having Grand Theft Auto 6 be $100. Like, simply, if you can afford it, let someone else go first and take all the ire while you maintain $70 for a little bit longer, just to not be the guy who bumped up prices to $80. Because so many people are just saying, this gives Sony permission to do it. This gives Microsoft permission to do it. And it's just that the public opinion is so soured because of just that one thing. I just feel like they should have saved that, kept that powder dry, as Colin loves to say, for a bigger title that you wouldn't as easily dismiss. Like everyone knows how expansive Tears of the Kingdom was.
Yeah.
If the follow-up game came out and that was $80, people would still complain. Absolutely. But you already know the scale of that game and what you're going to get out of that.
Sure. It would have been much less contentious, yeah.
People were complaining about Tears of the Kingdom being $70, calling it glorified DLC. So people, I think, are going to complain no matter what, no matter how much value is in the game, I suppose. Yeah. The thing I'll say about Mario Kart is, if you're going to pull the trigger, I think this is the top game to do it on, even more than Mario, just because this is like their number one selling game, period.
That is true too, yeah.
It's their launch game. I think Mario Kart of last year sold 67 million. I'm looking at Mario Odyssey, and at the end of last year, it sold 29 million.
So
Wow.
Tears of the Kingdom's only sold like 22 million.
Exactly, yeah. Breath of the Wild sold a lot more.
Holy shit.
So I think this is the game to, like, if I'm just thinking from like, I want max profits kind of mindset. I'm not saying I want that as a player or anything like that, but as someone who would be in the boardroom or the office, be like, oh yeah, you make that game $80. That's the one to do it. People are going to complain right now, but they're going to fucking buy it. They're going to buy Mario Kart.
I think so too.
All these people complaining, they're going to buy Mario Kart.
They will. No, for Nintendo, it makes financial sense. Yeah. I am just strictly saying in terms of like the goodwill from your customers. It's just one of those situations of like, it's something you bring that up about how well it sells. People are saying you could have kept this at $70 and made a tremendous profit.
Yeah.
Like you did not have to make this game $80 for it to be successful. And that's just, I'm strictly talking about the response from the fan base.
Yeah, sure.
And like, of course, yeah, they're going to do whatever makes the most sense for their board of directors and all that. Right. But it is just one of those things of, I just feel like this particular game could have been $70. It is going to sell a fuck ton of copies. Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be the best selling game on Switch. But it just didn't have to be the first $80 game to break the market like that.
It certainly did not need to be the first 80. Of course it didn't. It just reminds me, if you guys might remember this old meme when Modern Warfare 2, there was like a boycott for Modern Warfare 2. I remember back in the day when it came out because it didn't have dedicated servers or something like that. And there's famously a screenshot of like a Steam group that's like anti-Modern Warfare 2. But when the game came out, like 90% of the people in that group were playing Modern Warfare 2. So people like to talk.
That. Yes.
But when push comes to shove, things are different often.
Oh, absolutely. The number of people I see saying we need to boycott the Switch 2. And it's like, brother, I still want one. All right.
It's like you could complain and be upset. It's totally fine. Yeah. I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not thrilled with these new prices. Of course I'm not.
Right.
But
no one's like, I want $80.
Bro, I want that Kirby's Air Riders, okay? Yeah. Like, you think I'm going to miss out on that?
Yeah.
It'd be amazing.
I'm not missing out on the new Donkey Kong. It looks awesome. Like, it's just, it is what it is. The people who are willing to pay for it will pay for it. I do wonder if we'll see less scalping this time around.
Maybe.
Only because it's like, will this thing be too expensive to get like much of a return on your investment when you're scalping these? I don't know.
That's a fair point.
That might even be part of the
I mean,
thing.
do you think their system's going to work, or because they're not the only ones selling it? It's not direct through Nintendo only, right?
Right.
You can
Right,
still
sure.
get it from
Oh.
Best Buy or
Of course,
Yeah.
I strictly
Target.
mean in terms of, will the scalpers be wary of people? So, for example, on our own subreddit, someone had just said, they're like, I'm already working extra hours. If I want to get the Switch, I'm going to have to put in more hours at my job to
Mhm.
save up for one.
Mhm.
So are the scalpers in this current economy, are they going to even try to buy 5 of these to resell? Because they're not going to get double the price, probably, in
Yeah.
the way things are going right now. So I'm just curious, like, from that standpoint only of like the current economy, what things are looking like. Do scalpers even think they can flip these for double the price like they could with a PS5? You
It's
know?
a great point.
Maybe a little at the beginning, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about long term.
Yeah, the
Like
excitement
months, I
will
don't
die
know
down.
about that.
Mike, I love what you said about Rockstar. I mean, why not, human shield behind a company like Rockstar with Grand Theft Auto and let them be the first? You know what I mean? Because people are gonna pay for whatever.
because you don't need a human, you don't need a shield when the bullets being fired are useless internet comments on Reddit.
Yeah.
I could protect myself from that with a sheet of paper, if that. I mean, the importance people put on, it's what you buy. It's like you said, they know people are going to show up and buy it.
Yeah,
And by the way, Grand Theft Auto there's going to be a $200 edition, I'm sure, day one.
Wow.
I'm sure, because WWE 2K I spent $120 to play that a week early.
Mm-hmm.
You think they're not going to put out Grand Theft Auto for 2 weeks early for $200 with the online when it launches? Come on.
Yeah.
So
like
you'll see like
in-game stuff,
80 to 200 editions, my guess would be.
And they'll be printing money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'll be there day one. I
Me
love
too.
Grand Theft Auto.
Me too. Jaffe, I wonder how much of this too is taking a page out of your book and what you said of like Nintendo acknowledging that this is kind of the end of the current model and we have to kind of squeeze it for all it's worth.
I think they always try to squeeze everything for all it's worth. I mean, every company does. I don't think they go because Nintendo, ironically, in my opinion, is in the best position to become or to stay incredibly successful and relevant even when the hardware wars go away. And Shu was talking the other day about PlayStation going, even though he's not at PlayStation anymore, saying, PlayStation needs to continue to make some of these really big budget, high fidelity games, but they've gone too far with everything having to check that box of it's a $300 to $450 million eyeball bleeding extravaganza of production value. And so Nintendo, to their credit, there's nothing in Mario Kart World that I've seen. There's nothing in Bonanza that I've seen that makes me go, oh my God, no one ever could have done this without this hardware. It's just, They understand, they have great game design chops and game conceptual chops.
Yep.
And they are best positioned that they don't have to spend a lot of money to make a lot of money. Whereas Sony has shown that they are struggling when they pivot out of that production value world. Can they, and some of them do great. I'm not saying they've never had success there, but it's been a while since their DNA was as creative and game mechanic focused as it was back in the PS1 era, that I think they're going to have to do some catching up if they actually do want to try to monetize those aspects of their productions and not just so I actually think that yes, Nintendo will squeeze everything just like any other company, but I don't think it's because, the building is burning down, we got to get out before it's not habitable. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
Yeah. They were riding high on like 2 or 3 years worth of really goodwill coming into this, and there's still a lot of fallout. So can you imagine they weren't riding that crest?
You're talking about Nintendo?
Nintendo, yeah. Of doing everything right, you know what I mean? Of being loyal to the fans, listening, giving people what they want, always putting a light at the end of the tunnel, something to look forward to.
Yeah, although I have to say, I didn't like the Switch era of Nintendo. I genuinely liked the Wii U games more than the Switch. I know it's blasphemous, but I know, and I get it. It kind of lost something for me. Things didn't feel as obviously Zelda is great and stuff. It didn't have that same kind of like. I got so excited when Nintendo Directs would come out when it was the Wii and the Wii U, and I was like, "Ooh, this is so creative and different." And then this just kind of felt a little more corporate this time around. But that may just be me. Okay.
I do know. I agree with that. I think it's our age, Jeffy. There's something that seems a little more sterile, like a little more controlled,
Yes.
And less fun. But that's how they see themselves as this premium brand. That's how like they created themselves as like this, the Armani of like electronics. It's exactly what Jeffy's saying. It's by creating fun experiences. It's just fun. That's it. The bottom line. If the games are fun, they're going to continue to ride that wave of success. And that's what they do. Like Jeffy's saying, it's gameplay. It's creating games and experiences that are legitimately fun that they're still the best at that. And regardless of the IP, regardless of, what other companies do well, and there's plenty of great video games made by AAA studios and made by independents. We're in this culture now where there's a lot of good games. Colin and I talk about it all the time. I'm sure you guys talk about it on your shows. You can't possibly get around to everything.
Oh, no.
You're missing a huge percentage of stuff. So
and the stuff that is evergreen. I mean, Call of Duty multiplayer and Marvel Snap. I don't, I know that's time taken away from being able to play Assassin's Creed Shadows or South of Midnight Early Access. And as much as I care, and I do, given my preferences, I would rather be playing the new season of Call of Duty because it is just fucking fun. Marvel Snap is just fucking fun. And, it's hard out there for a fucking pimp these days. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a struggle to try to play everything to keep up. It's not possible. You just got to pick and choose.
Dude. No, as you know, Brad, right now I am going back and trying to find 3DS games that I missed out on. I loved the 3DS. I played a lot of 3DS, but at the time I had one, I was in college, had no monies, and you could try to rent, 3DS games on GameFly. It would be really difficult to get some of them. So I am right now kind of going through a little bit of a game hunting phase and trying to snap up some 3DS games that I missed. And it's been super fun to go back to them, but it just proves like the backlog is endless. I keep adding to it. That's my own fault. But there are so many things I want to play that if I was someone right now who was like, yeah, I'm more lukewarm on Switch 2, it's like I have so many games to get to.
Yeah.
I could delay, if it wasn't for my job, I could delay getting a Switch 2 for like 2 years and not run out of things to play. Truly. There's just so much that I have not accessed yet.
Yeah.
There's
plenty to play. So we'll
Brad,
see.
what are you going to do? Are you going in day what? You pre-ordering?
Oh, yeah, of course. Okay. I mean, I host Punching Up, but
Brad, you got to get the welcome tour
I get
game.
influenced real easy.
You got to get the $30 amiibos.
I'm not getting amiibos. I don't like
You got to get them,
amiibos.
Brad.
No, I don't
They're
like
$30 now.
I don't like
They're
any
still
of those
doing
ones.
the amiibos?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's Street Fighter 6
It seems
ones
more
coming out.
sparingly now, it seems
Right.
like, but still keeping it going, yeah. And I think some amiibos are really cool. Like, I love the Castlevania ones. I have those. Those are sick.
Oh, they're awesome.
So I like some of them, but yeah, not all of them. I'm not going to buy those. But yeah, I'll buy Switch 2 day one, of course. I like Mario Kart a lot, and I'm going to play online with like friends and stuff, so it'll be really fun. I don't know if I'll use it'll be interesting seeing how their voice chat kind of stuff works.
Oh, that's right.
The whole chat thing. That'll be interesting.
I can't believe the C button was
It's
just
chat.
for chat. Like, really?
Yeah,
you
I
think
know.
they're going to reserve that just for chat, or are they going to try to assign that to different modes? That's it.
It's just chat. It's like I don't know. Reminds me of like the share button. And when I first saw the
Yes.
share button, I was like, who gives a fuck? But people love it. I don't know. Now everything has a share button on it.
Although that kind of came and went on PS5, right? I loved when PS4 launched with the share button, and it was, I think you're talking about the PS4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when that launched, if you remember, there was like a whole Facebook kind of social media thread and stuff, and
Yeah.
it never really gained that much traction. I guess people are still watching people stream directly from their PS5s, but I don't know anyone.
Yeah.
that-
I don't know anyone that does that.
Yeah, so.
But they still got the button. It's still there.
Well, it's been changed though. It's not called share anymore, is it? It's does a couple of things. It's just got like a weird icon.
Yeah. What is
now
it
or
called
something.
now? Because it's
Called,
still the options button for the other
It's
one.
got
I think.
these 3 lines shooting out now. I don't even know what they call it, but it's not actually the PS4 controller says share.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
But that
what
may
it-
just
I don't know
have
what
to
it's
do with the
officially called now.
anti-socialist mentality sweeping the world. They don't like share being written on it, so it's more like, they had to get rid of that. You know how it goes.
What if they wrote it though instead as Cher, the singer, and it was the
Oh.
Share button?
I love
And
it, but then what are you going to have to do? Raise prices by $2 because she's going to need to get her cut.
yeah,
She's gonna want her
need
cut,
at
yeah.
least.
Yeah, all right. How many consoles are there? And then if she made 50 cents per console, that add up to a pretty penny
A lot.
simply for it to be called the Share button.
She'd make a
If
lot
I
of
can
money.
tell, I don't remember the specifics. I know we paid the Rolling Stones $100,000 to use Paint It Black, but then they got a percentage for every sale. I think
Wow.
forever. And it wasn't the world's biggest selling game, but it's not a bad living if you can get it. You know?
Right,
Yeah.
You didn't. They,
Totally.
they wrote a brilliant song 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and it's just like, hey, what's this, mate? I've got more money. I don't know how they sound. They sound like pirates to
That was
me. I
pretty
don't know
good.
what they do.
No, that's probably right how they sound.
All right.
Yeah,
That was
That's
right.
probably how Mick Jagger sounds nowadays.
I like that from Mick. Yeah.
Cool. But I'm satisfied. I just wanted kind of to gauge everyone's thoughts about the Switch 2, especially because Dagan haven't talked about Nintendo in a while, so it's good. And of course, Jaffe working in the industry and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's good to know. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good.
I mean, we're 2 months out. It's pretty
One
exciting.
question then: will it
Yeah.
be a bigger, the same, or less seller than the Switch One?
I don't know. It's hard to say. It always feels
Sure.
like the successor often doesn't do as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, PS2, of course, like breaks all of that, throws that
Sure.
all out the window. But I don't know. It's like, I don't know, Jaffe. It's really hard to say when the gaming landscape's changing so rapidly.
It's a total
is.
guess, but what's
Yeah.
your guess? No, I wouldn't know. I don't.
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's still going to do very well, though.
What about you guys?
Yeah. I mean, just anecdotally from what I've seen, like in our own community, for example, I've seen a lot of people who held off on getting a Switch 1 and were waiting to see the Switch 2 and are saying they still don't have me on this.
Okay.
And so it's hard to imagine it being a bigger seller
Mhm.
when, from what I see just from our own community, and these are people who are not hostile towards the console, simply saying it's still not selling me on it.
Sure.
So I don't know if they are still going to win over people they didn't get the first time. Also seeing people upset about the hardware itself, not having the OLED screen, and then saying, well, maybe they'll release an OLED model in a couple years and
They
I'll wait
will.
for that.
They will, yeah.
So
How much money did they want this to be?
Yeah, you
It's
want to
like-
spend $700?
You're already
I mean, some
complaining.
people probably did.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's going to, you know what? I got to question the name. I mean, what do you guys think of that? Like just from a purely armchair marketing perspective, just to make it feel like something new, just call it something besides the Switch 2. But maybe it's better to tie it to the Switch because of the success of the Switch and people championing the Switch.
I think the
right?
Wii U has scared them off.
Oh,
Yeah.
Anything
100%.
like that.
yeah.
I
Makes
wish they would have
sense.
changed the color though, because it looks. I could see it's like, honey, your brother gets the Switch 2 today. You have to get the Switch 1. This is the Switch 1, Mom. I mean, it looks the fucking same almost.
It does. It
You
kind
know,
of does.
it would have been nice if there was a little bit of a shift in color, like white and red or white and black or something. But whatever.
I like the magnetic Joy-Cons. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
The
The tech
Joy-Cons
is-
are bigger too now, which I'm happy about.
They
Dagan,
look
it's funny.
substantial.
You know, what you say about the name is I told my brother about the Switch too, because they have a Switch. He has a couple kids.
Okay.
And I told him about it, and he said, well, I could still play Switch 2 games on my Switch, right? And I went, no, you need a Switch 2 for this kind of thing. So there is still confusion no matter what. And
Yeah.
I'm just imagining if it was the Switch U, how much more confusing that would have been. So I don't know. There's still
Yeah.
going to be something confusion there, but hopefully less with this.
I mean, we still see like every holiday season, it feels like you will still see posts on gaming forums saying, my wife accidentally bought an Xbox One S when she was supposed to buy the Series S, and now
Yeah.
it doesn't play the games we bought. Like, I literally saw one of those this past December. It's like people, and those names are terrible.
Mhm.
They really messed
I
up
get confused.
on just clarity in naming the Xbox consoles post 360. I don't know what the hell they were doing. I think Switch 2 makes sense because it is still the same form factor. It is
Yeah.
still a dock and a handheld that comes out of it. So I feel like if you change the name, people would be more confused to be like, but it looks the same.
Right.
So it's like there will be confusion either way, but I do think Switch 2 is the simplest answer only because it does look so similar to a Switch. People are going to be like, what do you mean this is the Switch Titanium? Like, it's the same thing, like what?
Yeah.
It's I don't know. But I am still disappointed we didn't get Super Switch. I know they explained why, but I'm still disappointed.
Yeah. It's like, where do you go after Super Switch for the next one?
I feel
Giga
that.
Switch? I don't know. Ultimate Switch?
Well, right, it's
Switchfinity?
Xbox. It's Xbox 360 all over again.
Yeah.
I wanted them to do Xbox 720. I wanted them to keep going with it, and they were like, "No, that's dumb." And it's like, it is, but you started it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Xbox 900.
Plus,
yeah,
wouldn't you guys
sick.
say, like, since the advent of the NES in the mid to late 80s, maybe with the exception of the Wii, the Switch is the first time you have a console that's kind of synonymous with what it is. Like the Switch, it has become in the last 8 years, like a household name, meaning Nintendo, where it's like, it's almost like that Xerox thing. You know what I mean? It's like you call it a Xerox even when it's not. Like, so to continue that name of the Switch.
I think they're fucking very thrilled, honestly, that they didn't go with their first name because of that, given the political climate. So it was going to be the Nintendo Trans. And, but what I will say, though, is PlayStation had that for a while. And I remember Parenthood, the movie Parenthood, Nintendo was Xerox. It's like in the movie, it's like, oh, grandma's in the car playing Nintendo. And it's like, it could have been, what is it? Oh, the Genesis. So
yeah,
Nintendo did it once. PlayStation did it once. You think Switch is that ubiquitous?
I think it has become. I feel like maybe with the exception, if the Wii didn't exist, it would definitely be the next thing since the 8-bit NES. But the Wii probably became that thing. That was like the retirement home console. Like everybody had it. Everybody knew it. Everybody knew Wii Sports, that type of thing. And the Wii U was kind of a blip, obviously. And then the Switch came along. And I think it kind of reestablished itself as like a house. Like grandparents know what it is again. So to continue that name or that naming makes a lot of sense, I guess, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited. I know that I'm not going to have time to play it a lot. And since I do a retro video game thing where we're revisiting things that tend to be 10 years old or older, it just doesn't necessarily play into, and my kids are both teenagers, right? So it's a very weird, my wife's not a gamer, so.
It's going to have GameCube support on it for the old GameCube games. There you go.
That's huge for me. But how many, me and Jaffe are old. Sorry, Jeff.
He's the alternative.
Yeah.
But yeah, who's got you? We're already talking about, we don't have time to play the new shit.
I know.
Right.
The only game recently I've even considered wanting to play again is the remake of Silent Hill 2. Everything else, I'm just kind of like, like the last thing I really want on my radar is, hey, I want to go back and spend 10 hours playing a game from the GameCube era. No, I'm busy.
I'll do it.
Well, that's the thing. The appeal for me for Nintendo Switch Online is it's games I missed out on.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's strictly, I did have a GameCube, but I only had a couple games for it. So I'm stoked about it. Or even they announced recently, Brad, they had like, what was it, like Nobunaga's Ambition and that pirate strategy game that Gene was like, it was the only game his friend had. Like those games, of course, that I've never played, and I'm super excited to just try them out.
Yeah.
But I totally get it of like, if you already played a lot of these retro titles, the appeal may be lower. For me, though, it's like I might not even be into these, but I'm just excited to try them for the first time.
Yeah.
Nintendo is uniquely positioned, though, because even back in the day, they focused on fun more than anything else. And I got this. I talk about this book all the time, which is the Impact of Iwata. It's a great fucking book. But what's been really interesting about reading this book is that you can, I didn't know he worked on that. I didn't know he worked on that. So you can go and play them on the Switch. And it's like, shit, this is really fun. Like I played his Joust ripoff for the first time a few months ago. The Balloon Fighters, I think is what it's called, from the NES. Because he did
Balloon Fight, yeah.
Yeah, he did the Joust conversion. And then he went off after that and did Balloon Fight. And I'm like, this is really good. How many years ago is that? You're talking 1984.
Yeah.
So 40 something years and a little, it's so point being though, about the old games, I get why the 3DS games are still satisfying you, some of them, or the GameCube games. I don't know if I really want to go back and play. I'm trying to think of some of the weird PS1, like Crazy Ivan. I'm good. I don't need to play Crazy Ivan or, shit like that. But yeah, I love this. I love the games this guy worked on.
I got to get that book, Jeffy. I don't have that.
Great book.
I think
Colin was telling me he knows the guy who did something on this. Who I think it might be the same guy that is doing the Mega Man Kickstarter that he was all excited about.
Phil Summers.
I want to say that's So it's a good book, really good book.
Cool. Oh, that's super cool. Yeah, I got to get that. Yeah, man. Nintendo. What are you gonna do? They're always causing problems, aren't they?
Yep.
We love them, and it's like they're always causing heartbreak.
It's a love-hate relationship.
It really is
with them.
Well, yeah, and it was interesting too to hear just like one final point.
Sure.
The little bit of anger that people are having about the sort of like welcome demo being a game you have to pay for, and people just saying Reggie Fils-Aimé was the only one who could convince them, like, you don't do these things, like, you have, like, give that for free. But their culture is, well, we worked on it, so you should pay for it. And I respect the concept, but it's like, this game doesn't look fun. This isn't Astro's Playworld. This is like a PowerPoint presentation with some stuff to walk around in. And it's weird that you're asking us to pay for it. And it was like the just definitive sign that the Reggie era is over. Yeah. Because it's like Reggie would have steered that right and made sure that this was a free add-in.
Mm-hmm. Legend. That dude was an absolute legend.
Yeah, it was.
Is he fully
Reggie would have had
retired,
puppets?
or is he doing something? Yeah, puppet. That's right.
I don't know about working in the industry or like a game company, but I think he does stuff occasionally, like talks and stuff like that. Okay. And probably consulting.
Right.
I'm sure.
Would make sense. Yeah. He could probably clean up.
Oh yeah. I'm sure he does just fine.
Yeah. I'd hire him to like officiate my wedding if I thought I could have gotten in touch with him.
That would be awesome.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. I'm gonna Amazon that book somehow covertly while we're talking. But Jaffe, I want to stay with you for your topic. We have 3 fun topics, so we don't even have to go in a particular order today because it's just constant fun. There's no change in tone.
Well, which one did you guys want to go with? Because I said 2.
I thought B. Yeah, the option
B sounded fun.
Yeah. The first one, I'm too stupid for that.
It's not.
That's a Colin level topic.
No. It's
oh yeah,
it kind of is.
Oh yeah.
That's a nice way of saying I didn't know what the fuck you were writing, Jaffe, because you were like terrible communicating.
No, I'm just not. I'll just say I don't think deeply about the human experience and like philosophical things. I am just bopping around on this earth, living life.
Thinking about grilling.
It's just hitting me in the face, Exactly. Like I'm out there grilling. I'm just being a human, and I don't have these deep ruminations.
You're not
about
supposed
the human
to.
Experience.
They don't want us to peek behind the curtain.
It's true.
But, it's part of the plan, my friend.
Blue pill.
But anyway, all right. Well, we'll go with B. I mean, but B is a little weird too, because the idea of B though to me was, if you could go back for a week to your 15-year-old self and give advice to that kid, and and here's the clincher, right? It's easy to say, I'm going to go back a week and tell the kid XYZ, and everything's going to be equal other than XYZ. I would have invested in Amazon, or I would have done, whatever. Mm-hmm. But the thought exercise has to take with it the idea that whatever you tell that kid will affect, like we assume it would in time travel movies or whatever, it would affect who you are today. Right. So, and then you get into these really weird. So that was the question. It's like, if you could go back, what would you tell that kid? Right. But when I start to think about it, I start to go, well, the advice that you have at this point in my life as a 53-year-old, or the advice that you guys have is kind of born out of the little t or big T trauma that we have endured to arrive at what we call acceptable states of health, right? Or where we're at, right? And so if you gave that kid that healthy stuff, they might end up becoming someone that societally would be healthy. But a lot of the people that are societally healthy are miserable because they're kind of applying these rules that take off the interesting parts of them and really say, don't be that, don't do that, don't rock the boat, don't cause waves, right? So I suddenly start to think my answer to this question might be, I would hide. I would not want to say anything to that kid. Because if I said, okay, for example, my parents were very loving, but they argued and fought like cats and dogs. And that was very traumatic for me growing up in that house, right? Well, if I would have pulled that kid aside and said, you know, here's all the healthy things you can know about what's happening, you know, everything's going to be fine, blah, blah, blah. And that trauma wouldn't have come with me. Something else could have affected me in college that if I hadn't built up the emotional armor to deal with that, I might now be 53 and I'm absolutely depressed as shit and I want to step in front of a bus, right? So I have no idea what I would do at my point. So what started as a thought exercise of, oh, here are the 3 things I would say. I think the real answer is, don't you fucking get near that thought exercise. Don't you fucking do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Don't interfere.
Don't interfere. But I think I would want to, because I just would want to see what would happen. But, you know, I mean, if I were to say 3 things and say, fuck it, let the chips fall where they may, and it wasn't benign shit like invest in Apple or invest in Amazon, you know, I would say, oh God, I couldn't do it. Because if I were to say, I was going to say, don't go to college to make movies because you don't really like making movies. You like talking. Go into broadcast, go into radio. It'll eventually become streaming, you know, really build that career. But then I wouldn't have gone to LA. I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have had my beautiful kids. And I'm just like, oh, I can't do this. But I would say that if all things being equal, I would say, don't chase movies. I would say, Melanie is not your true love. You're wasting your time. I know she feels like your true love. Please walk away. Please walk away. There's a delightful girl named Lynn. There's a delightful girl named Charlotte. Just go there. Go there. Okay. Also, I would say you got to stop with the Diet Cokes, you fat fuck. You got to stop. There's nothing diet about them. And that is my presentation for the class.
Nice.
Yeah. Dagan, would you partake in the thought exercise, or would you, if I could give you a doorway, the door, that green door behind you, and I said, Dagan, you can step through this, the time in 2025, it will be like an instant. You will return to your family. Nothing's going to change for them in terms of time passage. But when you come back through it, the ramifications of having spent a week with your 15-year-old self will be revealed on the other side of that green door. Would you do it? And if you would, what would you say to little Dagan?
I love this. I really do. I think I would keep mine very simple and non-specific. When you emailed, I thought of it. It didn't, you know, I thought about it in 2 frames. Like, it just came to me right away. I mean, first of all, I loved being 15. I think 15 was like my favorite age. As the inverse of that now at 51, think back to being 15. That was like such an amazing time of my life. You know, friends and skateboarding was in full swing, and my parents were still together. And Colin was like 4 years old. I had a little brother. So, you know, it was like really a great time in my life specifically. But if I could go back and appear to my 15-year-old self, I would say, I know this doesn't apply at the moment, but in a year or 2, life is going to start to get to be a little more stressful. The anxiety is going to get ratcheted up. And I think about my life, right? Like a lot of us, every specific era had its things to be worried about, right? It's, you know, and you hit 16, 17, you're starting to worry about finishing well in high school so you can get into a good college. And then in college, you're worried about going into the real world and get a good career. Then your early adulthood, post-college, you're worried about your job and getting a car payment and rent and making your way in life. And then it becomes, you know, meeting somebody and getting married and starting a family. So there's always so many worries along the way. And I was a very anxious kid. Even before all of that started, even as a 15-year-old, I was very self-aware. I had a lot of anxiety. I was very introspective. And I would just appear to my 15-year-old self and like, I know this doesn't make sense at the moment, But in a year or two, when all this starts, 2 words: don't worry. Just don't worry. Don't spend your life worrying. Just kind of put your best foot forward. Put your, everything in life that's important to you, give it its due diligence in terms of energy, in terms of effort, and steer your life's course the best you can, and then just enjoy it. You know what I mean? Don't worry. Don't sort of fret over things you have no control over. Just give your best. Just do your best and let it ride. You know, so like if I could just kind of condense it down to 2 words, it would just be like, don't worry. I have a great life. I'm blessed in a lot of ways, and I'm a happy dude generally, but I did worry a lot, and I still worry. You know what I mean? I still worry in terms of career, in terms of all types of things that everybody worries about, making the mortgage, making sure the kids are happy. How's the wife's career going? Is she happy? How's the marriage going? There's always so many things to be concerned about. You could just reduce it down to saying, if you could just don't worry. It's just somehow.
But if you did that, do you think that worrying, as painful as it has been for you, do you think that's why you've been able to have the level of success that you have in any category?
It's an interesting point, Jav. I don't know. I mean, I think I talk about this with my dad a lot, who's still my mentor in a lot of ways, and kind of my guru in a lot of ways. And I think being aware of things is constructive, but I think the actual physical worrying that can be exhausting, and doesn't affect anything except taking your bandwidth and, not giving you the energy to kind of place, to do the things you want to do. Mm-hmm. It's so draining. I think the actual physical act of worrying, I think you could be aware and you could do your best, and you could sort of put your best foot forward and, put in the work without having to worry. I think if you could just kind of straddle that line, I think that would be ideal.
Your experience dating was affected by your worrying?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, so if you came back through the door, you're not worried that being a more carefree Dagan would have partnered you with someone else and you'd have a totally different romantic life and different kids?
That's an interesting question. No, I think I've always I always kind of was drawn to girls that were much more lighthearted, much more free-spirited, and I think I'm a pretty interesting balance of type A and type B, but I've definitely been attracted to women who are more type B personalities. I think that was part of my thing. I think it's sort of, I never really thought about it in so many words, but I think inherently I felt like that balanced me a little bit. I was more drawn to their personality. I wanted to take a page out of their book, be a little more carefree. And that's certainly my wife. I mean, she's a responsible, mature adult, but she doesn't have the gene to overly worry. You know what I mean?
But if you would have gone back and told your 15-year-old self not to worry so much, would she have still have been appealing to you, or that type of person have been appealing to you because you were doing that for yourself now?
That is a good point. That is definitely a good point. And if I was a more carefree person and managed to not worry like later in my teens and started that whole steam, that whole head of steam, would I be attracted to the opposite type of girl who was that more type A, who I needed a little more structure, a little more, that's interesting. I'm happy the way it played out though.
Sure.
Where I kind of looked for somebody to sort of, because it sort of comforted me. The fact that my best friends are like that too. It kind of dawned on me later in life, like, wow, all your friends are much more type B than you because you admire that. You're trying to get a little bit of that into your persona.
Would you have stayed in animation if you had known now what you know then? What would you have told him?
I think that's the hardest thing about animation. I think that's really the hardest thing because a lot of, artists that have that sort of maybe a little more bohemian or whatever the word for it is. I think that's the hardest thing about the business is that it's so, it's so nomadic, it's unstable, it's cyclical. So having to deal with that, the thing is, I think if you're my personality, you have to love it enough to endure that because worrying is just part of the deal,
But if you knew that the industry's dying because of AI, would you just say you still would have done it? because you got to spend most of your adulthood doing it, even though now at 51, it's probably not going to be that, not to be depressing, but there's a lot of jobs that aren't going to be that viable in 10 years. And that's
it's
probably
over.
one of them, right?
Yeah. It's absolutely over. I think with animation, and animators will tell you this, especially people that have been doing it as long as I have, I think AI is definitely like maybe the biggest nail in the potential coffin, but there's always been coffin nails. There's always been things to worry about. You know what I mean? There's always been strikes and the cyclical nature of entertainment and layoffs and whatever else. You know what I mean? Moving, having to relocate and, change your geographical location, which is really hard when you have a family, being close to the coasts or wherever the industry was. Outsourcing has always been a huge thing. So I think AI is just the newest thing. Who I really feel bad for in that, Jaffe, is the younger animators who haven't had that much experience yet. Maybe they're just getting started in their careers. They're still in the journeyman phase, where AI is a big deal, but we've been dealing with all sorts of obstacles and impediments, as animators going on 30 years. So
I imagine motion capture was pretty terrifying for
mocap
a while. So
was a big one. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, not cool, but I comprehend. Yeah.
Even when I worry now, I'm like, oh man, I just wish I could take that energy and put it where it needs to be. I think it's just part of my nature. And I think it is part of I think you make a good point, Jaffe. It is part of me, my whole approach, and making sure I'm crossing my T's and dotting my I's and making sure I have the next job lined up and making sure things are paid for and that my family's taken care of. So it kind of works for me.
Yeah. And your family probably loves that about you. They may not articulate it, but they probably go, that guy's a rock for us, because he is always, to some extent, keeping an eye on the ball, and it gives them the ability to relax a little bit.
I hope so. And I've always kind of adopted the policy of like, this is not, insofar as Helene and then the kids, this is not your problem. This is my problem. This is my thing to worry about. If my contract's ending and I have to look for another job, or if I get laid off, or the project doesn't, the season doesn't complete and we need to keep bringing money in and I'm making half the income, this is not your problem. This is my problem. I always try to adopt that energy so I'm not taking things out on them or giving them undue stress. I don't think it's always been successful. I've definitely made mistakes. I've definitely yelled at the kids when because I was stressed out. But I try to be introspective enough to just consistently be like, adopt the energy of like, I chose this, not you guys. Right. You know what I mean? And I stayed in this. I decided incrementally along the way, like, I'm not going to veer off and try to change professions. Like, we're going to double down on being an animator, and this is the way it's going to be. And Helene's always, she's always been in my ear being like, look, you could do this, but maybe you have to hip yourself to the way that this is never going to change, and just kind of, acclimate yourself to being in this life. And I've always been like, no, my stubbornness has always been like, no, but we can make it better. Right. We could usher in the next age of 9 old men. Like, I'm going to meet the Walt Disney who's going to make me a millionaire, and I'm just going to work for them. And it's never happened. And it's never going to happen. But I've always had that wife of like, maybe you just need to bring yourself up to the fact of like, just get right with the fact of like, this is never going to change. And if you want to do this, maybe you'll worry less if you just kind of admit to yourself that this is always going to be the challenge, And that's what, it's obvious now, 28 years deep, I'm never going to change. It's never going to change.
I mean, the only thing in animation at this point, if that you want that, is to be the creative force, right? Like, to be the guy who makes the next, Dan Povenmire or whatever these guys are that make the next big animated hit, right?
That's what you got. That's where it's going.
Yeah.
Working for the companies is just, it's over. It's just over. Yeah.
Well, this has been a delightful conversation. Who's next?
I can go next. It's fine.
Okay.
So what I would tell myself, my younger self, is to just branch out more, I guess, and go for it. I've always had this hesitation in my life about certain things. about trying new things, just like lacking the confidence to do it or something like that. And I wish I was just not as afraid to fail and stuff like that and put myself out there. I really wish I just kind of like was more carefree about it. Just like, it's okay if you fail, don't worry about it. You'll grow from it. Certain thing. I wish I started to do things earlier. It's like, it's something I still struggle with now, like slowly. Like I still want to I have like a YouTube video I've been working on for a very long time. I just haven't finished it for something holding me back for some reason. It's just like, I wish I could just move myself forward in that kind of way. So I've gotten better at it as I've gotten older, but it's definitely something I still struggle with. And I wish I would tell my younger self, just like, because I feel like maybe I held myself back on certain things when I shouldn't have, and I really didn't need to. So I wish I would just be like, okay, it's all right to fail. Just give myself, my past self, a little more confidence, I suppose, to move forward and try new things. But I guess that's all I would probably do, because I'm happy the way things turned out because I learned from everything, but probably could have saved some time, I suppose, along the way. That would have helped a lot.
Do you think the things that you didn't do because you were afraid to fail, do you think if you did give that advice and you took that advice up until today, do you think the world you return to after that visit would be meaningfully different then?
It's hard to say. It would be different to an extent. Like, I didn't get in the game industry for a while because I was just like, well, I probably can't do it. There's nothing really about it. Like, I don't know. No one wants to really hear what I think about anything like that. But here I am, like 10 plus years later, still doing it. So it's like I could have started earlier and that kind of stuff. It's like, I wish you tried more stuff in school, maybe, or you like branched out more in school because you're afraid to try certain things, or just like giving myself more motivation, I guess, on that front. I mean, of course, things would have changed. I don't know how dramatic things would have changed and stuff like that. But I don't feel like anything that would have changed is a negative that I can foresee from that. Because I'm not, like you're saying, I'm not like dramatically changing the sense of like, oh, invest in this kind of thing.
Right.
I just wish I kind of just put myself out there more earlier on. I guess. I don't know if it would be worse or better or anything like that, but I would like to see.
You would have been Mr. Beast at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you gotta start that much, like that level. You know, it's like you would have been Brad Ellis, and
you would have been on the decline already, like Beast. Yeah, it's like you've already.
Brad wouldn't have tried to like have a shitty food company and a horrible reality show. Brad wouldn't have done any of that.
Yeah. You never know. You know, it sounds like he would have given flights to his fancies, whereas in the past he said no. You know?
I wouldn't be like to myself about like you have to do. I wouldn't give myself like the grind 24/7 mentality about things. To me, it's still very important to enjoy life and kind of take time to smell the roses. But I just nudge myself a little bit more than I have this time around.
Why haven't you finished the video? I am curious about
I don't know, Jaffy. It's like some weird roadblock. Well, maybe it's like, I don't know how to edit quite yet, so I have to learn that. I think it's just kind of like these mental roadblocks of being like, okay, well, I have to do the video, I have to do the VO, and I have to learn to edit all this kind of stuff. And
so it's overwhelming, like, the amount of...
I would say so, probably something like that. When in the reality, it's like, you just fucking do it. Everyone starts out it's not knowing what the fuck they're doing. It's totally fine. But something weird, you know, I don't know. We get hung up on weird, stupid things that
we do.
Other people don't see. Or like, what are you doing? It's just one of those strange things.
Gotcha. Okay. I was just curious.
It's surprising, Brad, just because knowing you, and it's like you're someone I look up to a lot. And it's like, I see Brad and it's like hardworking, diligent, confident, like super friendly type dude. And it is surprising to me that there's anything that you think like you couldn't tackle. I'm like, dude, you made a YouTube video. You'd be amazing at it. I have so much belief in you, man. Like, I think you'd just go out and like knock it out of the park.
I know. I think it's good because I have very supportive people in my life and I always have. So I'm very thankful for that. But it's just like something with myself. And we all have these weird, I think, things flaws or whatever quirks to us that we see in ourselves that no one else really does or can't understand. And we can't, like, I can't express how I feel. And like, it makes no sense when I explain to other people. It's one of those things where it's like, it's purely on me. It's purely stupid on my opinion, because it's not the reality of the situation, but it's just this weird mental roadblock.
I think it does sound like everybody can relate to being overwhelmed by things. And it sounds, when you lay it out like that, the voiceover, the editing, the this, that, it does sound like a lot that you feel like you have to learn. But everybody's going to be different. But boy, I'll tell you, when you edit it, I love editing so much. And I've been editing since I was like 8 with 2 VHSs, you know, I mean, the feel of control you get and the ability to manipulate an audience by just little subtle shifts in a timeline. I vibe with that, but a lot of people vibe playing the guitar, and I would love to play the guitar, but not enough to actually learn it. Right. So, everyone's different.
It's just one of those things where in reality, it's to myself, just like, just stop being a fucking baby about it. Just do it. That's the kind of like, that's like the tough love in that sense. Usually it's what's the best for me. Yeah. So
how long's the video going to be?
I don't know. Could be 40 minutes. Could be, I don't know how long it's going to be. It's going to be as long as I feel like it needs to be.
But I mean, is it like a 2-minute thing? Or is it like a video
it's like
essay
a deep dive.
or something?
Yeah, it's like a deep dive into something.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, Brad's getting into iceberg content.
No, not iceberg content. I don't know enough about that shit. People got that covered. I'm good on that.
Yeah, they really do.
Got it. Cool. All right. Micah.
That is me.
No, I'm just having fun with the name.
This is a tricky one because I am someone, Jaffe, who thinks about, I think often about, I wish I'd done things differently, but then I have to remind myself, but you're happy with where you are now. Mm-hmm. And so it does completely change the answer. If I wasn't happy currently, I'd tell my younger self a million things to do differently. Mm-hmm. But the reality is that it did all work out in the end. And I would be very afraid of if I told myself you should go to school for the thing you're passionate about and not just the thing to make money. How would I be here now? Because realistically, a big part of why I was willing to move here in the first place to be with Colin was because I wasn't too attached to my career. I still did try to pursue IT when I first moved here. But the reality is that if I had a career that I loved and a really successful job back home, I would have been far more apprehensive to leave that behind to maybe have a successful relationship with someone 9 hours away. I probably wouldn't have moved here as soon. I don't know if we would have survived like long distance COVID dating for super long. So the reality is that there are too many things that could go wrong if I said, don't make the mistake of staying with that first person for 8 years. That's a horrible decision. But it could have the cascading dominoes, man, of like, that's why I'm here now, potentially. And it's because I didn't go to school for something I loved that I was okay to leave that career behind and say, I do want to try out doing the merch op for the podcast company and actually doing the shows, which I never could have pictured being my job. And because there is a reality too, where as much as retail work was soul sucking, I do love retail at its core. I do love goods and services and like being the little shopkeep. I just hated the customers, man. And our customers are super nice. Like that's the difference is working retail at a department store and seeing the worst of your community week in and week out versus running this little merch shop here and getting friendly messages from people. And just when it's just so much better. Right. So I do get to pursue still my love of retail. I mean, my dream job as a kid was to be a QVC host. Okay. I have always loved shopping and I've always loved just items, like presenting items.
You should do that every week. You should do that just once a week here. I bet you guys could make that shit fly even more than it already is. I'd watch that. I'd watch the shit out of that.
That would be really funny to have like, and here comes our model, and like Colin walks into the living room on the live stream wearing the summon sign shirt.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be
shrimped over. Yeah, his back all messed up.
Exactly. But it's true. I think I would play it safe because there are still things I would absolutely tell myself. I would tell myself that everything will be okay. It was hard being a Jehovah's Witness with a very rough upbringing because there's alcoholism in the family. There are severe mental health issues in the household. And it's just a very bad combination to have high control religious group plus all that. So while it's things that were completely out of my control as a kid, and like you said, Jaffe, like the number one thing is, would I still be funny if I hadn't been stuffed under a futon as a child and remained there until I was screaming and someone finally took me out? Would I still be funny? I wouldn't trade that, because like, what if I ended up being like some dullard or something? You know, like I can't trade my childhood trauma for my comedy. All right. Like, well, I'll keep that.
I had someone say to me the other day, because, I think everybody has this experience of you waking up, and even though, yes, you're still you, the person you fell asleep as, it almost feels like that's a different person in some ways. Maybe the people in the world that really do, at least from the outside looking in, have the mega success. Maybe every night we are given this choice. And most people choose, well, I don't want it to change what I am now. We choose the comfort and the happiness with who we are. But maybe the people who become the presidents and the 1% and all that, maybe they're the ones that just say, yeah, fuck it. Better data every night is going to lead me to something that most people don't really have, including me, by the way, the courage to walk away from. So you may wake up tomorrow, if you finally choose it, and you'll never have met Colin, but you'll be on the fast track to be a senator or something. I mean, maybe that's the secret. They know that we just, most of us don't take that path, Right.
I think it's just about what you value, because for me personally, there's nothing more important than family.
Sure.
And job, money, all of that is dead last place behind family and just a life that I'm content with. Like, I don't have any designs on like being the richest woman in the world. Like, I just wanted, like, my goal going to college was just, I just don't want to be poor anymore. I just don't want to worry about where food comes from. Right. And so I think that did greatly shape my like mindset in terms of, no, I have no goals to be rich. I just want to be happy. And so you're right. Like, that's why I wouldn't change it.
Yeah,
I
but
wouldn't
think about
say,
this, though.
I'd go rather the career.
We always, and me included, always assume we're talking career. But like, if you could go back and go, if I choose when I fall asleep tonight to say yes for the first time and no, and not no. And again, this is nothing disparaging about it. It's everyone, including me. I'm not, but just because we're talking to you, Colin's great, and your level of family happiness with Colin would always be 75%. But if you made this choice, you would get the 1% of family happiness, which is you die at 105 on a porch of a beautiful lakefront house with grandkids, great grandkids, kids, and Colin is never going to get you there. He is never going to get you there. What I'm telling you is, no, I have no idea. I'm just saying that you can be the 1% in lots of categories, including just family happiness.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Yeah,
we don't get to know, man. That's what sucks.
No, like, it's what Colin and I both agree on wholeheartedly. We don't believe that you have one soulmate. Truly.
Oh yeah, no.
I wholeheartedly believe that if I had chosen to date X person instead of who I did choose, that may have ended very happily, and I might still be with that person instead, right. and I never had this path. Like, the reality is that I don't believe that there is like only one person in the entire world for you.
Right.
But I do believe that there are probably 25 people that you'd be highly compatible with, and it's a matter of finding any of them.
Yeah.
And you're right. If Colin and I are a 95% match, because I got to be honest, we share like that same brain cell, like, right. and finish each other's sentences and shit. But there could be a 99.9% match out there, and I'll never know. And he could have a slightly better match out there too. And we would just never truly know that.
Right.
And there are times though that I would want to know. I remember when we did, this was before Brad worked here. We did a topic, Brad. I had the topic of, would you want a death clock? Would you want to know when you're going to die? And I was the only one who said yes. And everyone else was like, hell no, I don't want to know when I'm going to die. But I was like, but why not? You know?
Yeah.
But this is something that I actually would not want to know. I wouldn't want to know if I had a better match out there, simply because it's like, I'm just so pleased right now.
And for all you know, the way it works is you don't get to know. Maybe Colin is the choice you finally got when you did for once have the courage to say yes.
That's genuinely though, that's genuinely how it went. I always played life very safe.
Yeah.
Not a risk taker. Didn't pursue my passions, like just really tried to just be responsible all the time. And so when Colin and I met by chance on Twitter, and not only was I like a big fan of the shows, but I was like, this is fucking crazy. All right, that this guy's interested in you at all. This isn't going to work. But I was like, when he invited me, he's like, oh, let's hang out sometime. I was like, well, all right. Because everything in my brain was like, that's not going to work out. This is stupid. This is the dumbest thing you've ever done. And then moving here, same deal. I was like, this is a horrible mistake. You're going to be back in Massachusetts in 3 months when this guy dumps you. And I did finally say, just like, yeah, just fucking send it.
Yeah.
But this was probably the first time in my life, aside from leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses, that was maybe the true first time in my life that I was like, just fucking send it, bro. Like, you got to make a really big choice right now and take a really big risk.
How long did you wait to tell Colin that you thought for the longest time that you were corresponding with Greg Miller? Was that like you told him right away when you met him? It's like, oh, I thought you were the other guy, or was that like you took a while? And anyway,
you're like, what do you mean you're not Tim? I thought we'd get to hang out with Alfredo at a coffee shop picking up chicks.
That's right. Yeah, it is. All that shit fascinates me. But the reason I even had the topic, if I may close it out, since I think we've all gone around, is I asked ChatGPT, because I know you guys have very successful podcasts, and I don't know if you have the telemetry on this of how many people are driving when they listen, but I assume it's a large percent. Probably. So I asked ChatGPT, I said, what topic could I come up with for this show that would have the highest percentage of chance of making someone who is listening while driving consider driving off the side of the road? And it said this. I'm kidding. Dagan, timestamp this because you're going to want to cut that. You're going to want to cut that, Dagan.
You leave that in because, Jaffe, do you know that like we found out it's someone in our community, they made it onto the like idiots in cars like YouTube channel. Like they were not the idiot in the car, but their dash cam picked up someone driving crazy, but they were playing a Sacred Symbols episode.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You hear Chris's voice talking about Final Fantasy while there's this dude like driving backwards on the highway.
What?
And it's
Isn't that
like
weird. It's so weird.
Yeah. I mean, I listen to all my podcasts in the car primarily.
Yeah.
I might listen to a podcast like while I'm doing dishes or something, like if I didn't finish the episode while I was out doing errands. But yeah, the car is the number one place for me to listen to all my shows.
Right. And if you were a real sinister fuck, you could do, it's like, I'm going to make a podcast that seems so benign and joyful, but I'm going to plant seeds because I want to see how many lives I can ruin. I wouldn't do it, but it's fascinating to me. I wouldn't do it though.
Oh, no, dude, just like midway through each episode, just kind of sprinkle in like, yeah, man. And today I was just really thinking about dying. Anyways, so like, and just like get to that what?
A lot of it is because I just ordered a book called Suicide Note, and that's all I'll say. But it is a fascinating,
I gotta look it up.
Fucking fascinating scenario of what this is. If you look it up on Amazon, it's like holy shit. So it's these topics are on my brain right now. That's all.
It's a good one, Jaffe. I'm going to rethink my answer though. I'm going to take it back. I'm going to make that my.
You can't take it back. You can't take it back.
I got something much more pragmatic.
All right.
I should have thought of this. I want to invoke the Back to the Future 2 effect and go and tell my 15-year-old self like what professional sports teams won that year. Like get to Vegas. Here's sports the lottery numbers. Yeah. Just set young Dagan up to be like a multimillionaire, and then just let the rest fall into place. That
even
sounds
if
like
it
a
means
smarter
your
way.
Kids would have never been born, and
I know.
No, sorry, you picked money
Fuck
over
those
love.
kids.
You picked money over love, and that's fine. By the way,
well, it's funny that comes up because I just saw like an article about Fabio. and his whole how he became so famous.
Yeah.
But he, as of a couple years ago, was lamenting that he never got married, never had kids. He's like in his 60s now, and he still wants to do these things. And it is that whole like situation of here is regarded as one of the most objectively beautiful people in the world.
Sure.
Filthy rich. And what he doesn't have, Dagan, is what you have, wife and family.
Is that interesting?
And it just is. It's like you really do just say, like, which one would I end up with? Can I really have both? Would I end up with both?
Yeah.
And which one would you choose in the end if you knew how it was going to play out?
You've actually made a bad call, Dagan, because you are in a position that you could have done both, which is you could have gone back to your 15-year-old self and given them the pitch for the 10 best that yet to be created animated TV shows, and you could beat Phineas and Ferb to the punch. You could beat We Bare Bears, whatever it is you want, and they could all be. You could be like the Shondaverse. What's her name? Shonda Rhimes. You could be the Shonda Rhimes of animation, and you still would have been an animator. You still would have had your family, all that. But you could come on, man. What's the matter?
That's not bad.
I'm gonna send the time fairy to you tonight. Say yes, Dagan. We will not know you after this. This podcast will be Mandela effect for people.
Yeah, that's right.
But in some universe, come tomorrow, it would be like, you got to talk to Dagan Moriarty? I'm like, I know. I know. Not
only because the real key thing, Dagan, is even with creating the shows is to then make sure that like the actors don't fuck it up. Like you're going to create Rick and Morty and you're going to tell Justin Roiland to not be such a shit.
Ooh, I like this.
And don't ruin this. And like you're going to
ruin it.
You're going to come up with all these ideas and be like, Harvey, you got to stop what you're doing over here, Mr. Weinstein. You got to stop that right now.
I like it.
And just correct some of the timelines so that you make all the money. But the nefarious things also don't happen.
That's making me Dan Harmon. So I'd be much less brilliant, but I'd be a little nicer probably.
Yeah.
I love Dan Harmon, but he's not the nicest dude, right?
Yeah.
He's so I'd have a little bit more of that.
No, but you would have it wouldn't just be Rick and Morty. That's what I'm saying. You would have the 10. You would be, that's probably what Spielberg did. Spielberg had a run in the late 70s and 80s that has been unparalleled even to this day.
Yeah.
You would have had Phineas, Rick and Morty. Give me the list, right? You know more about it than I, but what are the top 5 shows? Give me the top 5 shows if you could go back and rip off before they got to it. SpongeBob?
Simpsons.
Yeah.
Simpsons. Oh, fuck. Simpsons.
Yep.
Yeah. Rick and Morty. Family Guy or no?
Family Guy would be in there, yeah, as far as size and scope.
South Park, maybe.
South Park. Come on.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Dagan, you need me on that wall. You want me on that wall.
You fucked up, Dagan.
I totally. You know what's funny about this? Helene and I had this blip in our relationship very early on. Like we were just dating. We were both still living in Philly. It was right before we both graduated from art school. So we weren't even together 2 years. And I had my sights set on LA. Like when I came out of school, like I was shot out of a gun. Like I was just like career, I dropped out and came back. And so I had this whole arc where I was like so serious about my career. And I basically had this talk with her, like, look, I'm going to LA. And I knew she was very attached to being in Pennsylvania, being near her family in the Philly suburbs and everything. And I was like, you could come or we got to break up. And she basically made this case of like, we're staying together. You're going to have your career. We're not going to LA and we're not breaking up. And somehow it worked out. But I always tell my daughter, like, if it was up to me and your mom didn't kind of like think better of it, we would have definitely been in LA and started a family in California, 100%. Like I would have went in no frames. Like we would have been out there in a few months from me saying that. And she's always like, well, that sucks. Like I could have grown up in LA instead of like Bucks County. And I'm like, yeah, but Lil, you wouldn't exist as we know it. And she's like, I don't care. I'd be like the Southern California version I'd be like, you wouldn't be here, and she's still like, that sucks, And I'm like, you're just like, you wouldn't be in existence. You would. She's like, I would rather have that. Like, it's like gets a little strange. But isn't that funny? Like how those decisions, and I don't regret it at all. Like Helene was already exerting her wisdom over me. Like very early on, it worked out. She called it from miles out. But yeah, being the next Walt Disney would have been pretty cool.
But again. If you could have told her you had these ideas in your pocket, then she probably would have said, oh, fuck it. Let me help you pack. Right? I mean,
Look,
Yeah.
we'll come back and buy all of Bucks County, all right? Just give me
that's
like
right.
5 years out here.
Explaining to your wife that your future self came through a door and told you about all these great ideas. I'm sure she would have believed you and bought it right away.
You know what's funny, you guys?
You would
I
have
have-
needed some proof. You would have needed some way to say, I can show you it's true.
Well, it still exists. This is what's funny about this conversation. Like I have books, notebooks, files, drawings, folders deep of like concepts for shows and children's books and things. And I always envision myself like leaving that to the family so they could have that and maybe make something out of it. But the challenge is, I don't know if all of that sucks or is worth a dime until I'm gone. So I'll never really know. Or if they even choose to do anything with those things. Right. So I do kind of have that on the other end of my life to leave to them. And they know that. I mean, this room is full of that shit. I mean, going through it, I don't envy them because I don't know they're going to make heads or tails of these sloppy dog-eared notebooks. But who knows? Maybe it's worth hundreds of millions and maybe it's worth
Scan
nothing.
it, feed it into AI and say which one of these has a shot in hell. It'll tell you.
Maybe I'll try that. What do you think, Jeff? Are you satisfied with this topic?
I'm never fucking satisfied when
I
you
know.
met me. But yes, let's move on.
You are
I'm like the
insatiable.
Schuyler sisters. All right.
Now, I'd love to think that like the fam is going through Dear Dagon's notebooks, and then they're like, this one just says a hot dog with sun chips on it.
Yeah.
it's like these are his great ideas.
A hot dog with sunglasses.
But think about that. You are leaving all of these podcasts behind. That's delightful. I have so much of a media footprint that all they have to do is AI companies are already doing it, but to feed it into AI in 20 years, 30 years, when it's really got it down. Yeah, it won't be me, but hey, let's talk to Jaffe. It'll be nothing. It's kind of amazing.
We talked about this recently. That doesn't creep you out that the things you're creating right now are going to outlive you by many, many years?
God, no.
It creeps me out.
Are you kidding me?
I love the idea of a footprint. And
do you mean like games I got to work on, or do you mean this stuff?
Everything or anything?
That's why people always blow my mind when they're like, you're salty about God of War and Twisted Metal going without you. I'm like, are you high? Are you fucking high? I mean, I think I've told you this, Dagan. When I saw the guy who created the Joker at Comic-Con, like a few years before he died, it wasn't Bob Kane. I don't know who the guy is attributed to the Joker.
I'll look that up.
But he was signing autographs and stuff, and he's gone now. But that guy's family, if nothing else, is able to walk around and go, hey, my great-granddad was one of the guys that planted those seeds. And again, this whole planet, no one's going to remember Kratos or Sweet Tooth or anything like that. But, maybe for 100 years, I mean, the fact that Sony's still making content off those things that we did, it's the coolest thing in the world. It's the fucking coolest thing in the world. I love it. Fucking love it, man.
It's attributed to three guys, Jaffe. Bill Finger, Bob Kane, of course, and Jerry Robinson.
I think it was Jerry Robinson who was at Comic-Con that I saw signing autographs. So,
that's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
real old guy, needed help getting around, but I'm like, what a legacy, for whatever it's worth. I mean, legacy's stupid too. It's all just we're all just Minecraft pieces, but for the moment, what a neat thing,
Yeah, I think, and there's something about leaving something behind, like leaving a little piece of you, a little trace, something you've created. It's so much better than what like the pharaohs tried, like taking all their treasure with them.
Oh, right.
Right. Yeah.
If we can identify what we actually affect every day, though, as I've gotten older, that's the thing. And that's probably why I like streaming and podcasting even more than games, because we don't recognize and again, I'm not trying to romanticize what we do. It could be somebody who works at the checkout stand, but just the kindness, the joy, the escape, the ability, how we all affect the organism that is life, hopefully in a positive way with these things, the amplification of that via a podcast or a stream, even though I don't think about it consciously all the time, when you do let yourself step back, someone's really depressed right now listening to this, and they're getting a little bit of a respite from that. What a neat thing,
It's the
man.
best.
What a neat fucking thing. But you can't, you don't want to walk with that all day long. because then it kind of puts you in a headspace of like, oh, I'm doing something noble. Shut up. But every now and then to recognize it is a neat thing, man. I appreciate that. So,
I agree.
Oh,
yeah.
It is. And I think that's too why when I listen to my favorite shows and I think about, man, those guys just cheered me up. And it does just like, it just all goes back around. When I watch Game Grumps, for example, Brad's favorite show, and I'm just like, man, I needed that laugh today. Or I'm listening to my football podcast, Heed the Call podcast, the best NFL podcast there is. I just keep, and I realize like, yeah, man, like these dudes are a huge part of my day and they really just bring me joy.
I love that.
It is. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's
love
great.
that. Makes me so happy.
Yeah, escape. I mean, you said it perfectly. That's what it all is.
Because life sucks. Life sucks. You may as well listen to Constellation. We'll be back.
Right.
Yeah.
I thrived on escape my whole life. Like I realized that's why I loved cartoons when I was little, because I was already anxious, already like kind of an anxious little fidgety little kid. And like cartoons just let me escape and get into a different world for a little while. I guess podcasting is the same thing, you know, it's providing a respite for people.
Yeah.
You know, step away from your worries.
Let them focus on how angry they are at my horrible takes versus how oppressive life is. All right. When I said that I like to stick my tongue in front of the AC, dry it out a bit. And there were a couple people who said, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Most of them were like, are you fucking crazy? But you know what? It distracted them from the horrors of the world for a little while.
How noble.
You never heard that one?
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's so good. All right. Whether you have like a window unit AC or like an AC vent in a car, like you stick your tongue out in front of it.
I thought you meant like a wall socket.
No,
oh, you poor sad son of a bitch. You're going to die soon. Okay, I understand now. You're talking about like a wind coming in your, okay.
Yeah, dry your tongue out.
Have you ever done then? Have you ever done the thing where you can go like at Universal City Walk or places like that and they put you in a parachute, but it's a wind tunnel?
Oh God, no.
Oh, well, no, it'll dry the fuck out of your mouth. If you like that,
open your mouth.
You are going to love it. You're going to love it.
It's like some shit a dog would like, just drying your mouth out. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Do you have to wear pants while you do this activity? Just think how dry you could get.
Well, you have to wear one of their suits for whatever reason and a helmet, but your mouth is open because the wind is so strong.
Yeah, right.
Everything down your throat is just like, ancient Egyptian papyrus by the time you step out of that fucking thing. It's amazing.
Because the satisfaction comes from your tongue's all dried out and then you put your tongue back in your mouth and it's like, the rehydration.
More
Brad,
people should take
it?
inspiration from you and your embracement of your weirdoness because it's delightful. It's delightful.
Can't say I have, Micah.
Brad, please try it. You refuse to try so many things.
Air out my tongue.
And then you put it back in your mouth and it's all dry. You're like, it's great. You just give a fan in your mouth.
Dry tongue.
It's about the rehydration, Brad.
Okay.
Just put your tongue in front of a fan at some point and report back.
All right, I'll do it for you, Micah.
Yeah, Brad, Jaffy's doing it.
How long?
Jaffy's trying it live.
How long?
I'll just until it feels like the surface is dried a bit, You want the water to evaporate.
Brad, you made me think, though. Is that why dogs put their head out the window like that? With their mouth gaping open?
I don't know.
That could be.
We should ask one.
It's the rehydration. Now I see. Now I have a new level of understanding, Micah.
Simple pleasures, man.
Yeah,
absolutely. Enjoying the little things in life. As upset people get that me as a kid used to put ketchup in my chocolate milk, but it was about enjoying the little things in life.
I'll say.
You know what? If I could go back in time to a much younger age, maybe I wouldn't give myself lead poisoning. But again, I don't know if I would have turned out this way.
Probably not.
Why did they make lead paint so sweet?
I mean, it's not
delicious.
my fault that they put lead in everything and it was delicious. Okay. It's really their fault, but I don't think I would change that. Jaffe, report back.
I could see if I had done it longer, I might enjoy it more. Like I need like a good 10 minutes to get,
Yeah.
But do you think the new Switch 2 cartridges back to Switch are going to taste as bad?
Oh, that's a great point.
No, cherry slush flavor now. They're red now.
That shit'll knock you for a fucking loop. I tried that. I'd never heard it, and I tried it. Everybody's tried it, and it's just like...
I know. I never tried it.
Oh, you never tried it?
Wait
no way.
damn minute.
They're tangy.
You guys have a switch cart right with you in arm's length?
Not an arm's
Mine are
length.
downstairs.
Oh,
They
come
taste,
on, you
They
guys.
taste
I don't.
terrible.
Oh, how can you not try that?
I'd refuse.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
it's
see, I think you
it's
would
a
be the first one in for
fascinating
that.
experiment.
I did it as soon
I
as
mean,
I
like
found out.
the intrusive thought, every time I put a cartridge in the Switch, I'm like, what's it taste like? But I have resisted this long, and I will continue to do so.
That's a real.
All right,
shame.
Micah, let me ask you this. As a kid, now you have to fess up. As a kid, did you ever taste your earwax?
Oh, no. No, I found things like that abhorrent. Like as a child, I was disgusted by many things. Like that was no. Oh God, no.
That's what a switch cart tastes like. Those
Oh,
of you who have actually tried. Yeah.
well,
Earwax?
Yeah.
I can kind of like picture, because like based on like the smell, I can kind of picture what that might taste like.
It just tastes bitter.
Uh-oh. Jeff, is he getting out a
You
switch
doing it
cart?
on live on
I just haven't done it in so long. I want to see what it tastes like again.
what game is it first, Jeff?
I don't even know. I have to.
We're gonna watch a man harm himself live
I
on
hear
camera.
First party ones are worse.
Chemical poisoning.
There's not even a fucking card in there. It's all digital.
Oh.
There's nothing in there.
Oh,
It doesn't work with digital.
I know, but I've only bought a couple of actual, like maybe 2 switch cards.
Oh. I have a bunch that they're
Yeah,
they're
I have a
downstairs.
ton.
Now amiibos though, they don't taste poisonous or toxic, as far as I know. I never tried. I never
As far as
tasted
I
one.
know, yeah, there's not some trend for it that I'm aware
You can't
of.
choke on one.
It's not like a Tide Pod trend or anything.
Right.
the cinnamon challenge.
Yeah.
That is a good question about Switch 2 games, though. I guess they're going to continue because they're the same size.
It's a smart thing. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
idea.
You have to.
Yeah.
It was really forward thinking,
Yes.
right? If they didn't think of it, in fact, I think they definitely would be applying it for the Switch 2.
There would be some dead kids at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, not a joke. I mean, that was the idea, right?
Yeah.
No, because I mean, think of even smaller cartridges like Vita cartridges
Yeah.
being even tinier.
Yeah.
I don't think they made those taste bad.
Well, yeah, but
Obviously,
nobody-
Vita
that's-
less child friendly, but still, it's like there's these little tiny objects scattered around the house, and
Yeah.
they
But
don't
you have
taste
to
neutral.
have bought a Vita for it to be a problem.
Yeah, that's true.
There's not that many. All right, you guys, let's roll into this last topic. Now, we've talked about music before on the show, guys. We talked about favorite music, favorite albums, favorite bands, right? We've talked about different musical genres. We even did a topic about the song lyrics that mean the most to us. But I thought today we'd bring it back to music by talking about music without words. In other words, instrumental music, right? Music without lyrics. Now, when I emailed you guys, I brought up maybe you want to talk about your favorite movie scores, or especially in this group, right? Video game OSTs, new games, old games, and maybe you want to talk about famous.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure, go. Why? What's the matter?
Did we get Micah's topic?
Oh, I'm
no.
Colin this week, so
Yeah,
I don't
that's
have
still
to
the
Colin.
call.
Oh, okay. Because I wouldn't have been able to not be thinking. I'm like, what do you mean last topic? We only did 2 topics. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Continue. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the new model of the show. So when Colin sits in, which is like 3/4 of the time, right?
Okay.
He never brings a topic, so it's always 4 people. Ideally, it's 4 people, 3 topics. Sometimes
okay.
it's 3 people, 3
Did not
topics.
mean to interrupt. I just
No, not at all.
All right.
No.
Sometimes it's 4 people with 2 topics
That happens
because it gets
too.
so off the rails.
That happened just last week, right? Yeah, which is hilarious. I kind of love when that happens, and people seem to be drawn to that too, like just nonsensical arcs in the conversation. Which, hey, we gotta let it fly. We gotta let the freak flag fly. Like if it gets organic, that's wonderful. But today, guys, instrumental music. Maybe you want to talk about famous composers, or I said, maybe you liked techno music, especially if you're a '90s kid, jazz, big band, orchestra, trip hop, whatever floats your boat, any kind of music without words. I've been thinking about this because, and I'm not going to say too much. I'm going to leave it to my co-conspirators here, but I'll get us started with, I've been thinking a lot about some of my favorite music of all time, which is, maybe I'm old and a lot of people don't know who he is now, but I'm a huge DJ Shadow fan.
Oh,
yeah. Back in the mid 90s with his first album, introducing with an E, think, Iconic album. And I think it's best. DJ Shadow comes from a very sort of, he's steeped in traditional like boom bap, head nod hip hop, but it has a very ethereal feel to his music. He basically creates his music with a drum machine, 2 turntables, and Pro Tools. So very drum heavy, very sample heavy music. So there is technically lyrics, or there is technically speech in his stuff, but it's all sampled. And not always, but there's a very specific vibe to his music that I always found very comforting, very soothing, a little nostalgic, and maybe a little touch, just a little touch, like a little pinch of melancholy to his music. But I always found it funky and catchy, and again, sort of that backpack hip hop, but without lyrics. I'm just such a huge fan, and he just kind of slid back into my rotation recently. And I was remembering, mid to late 90s, very specific era of the Dagster in college, getting ready to graduate college. I think I had one of his tracks on my first demo reel that I was shopping around to studios when I was leaving art school. And it occurred to me, I love his whole catalog, but his album 96, he did Introducing. 98, which is a really nostalgic one for me because that was the year I graduated from college. He did an album called Preemptive Strike, which was like a collection. I guess that turned out to be a collection of his earlier singles all on one album. Had a very sort of iconic Phil Frost illustrated album cover. That was a huge one for me. And then later, much later in 2016, he did an album called The Mountain Will Fall, which is a brilliant album. But one song of his, oh man, if I could have a musical track that's kind of like my spirit animal, like if you want to sum up Dagan with one song, there's a song from his 96 album called Midnight in a Perfect World. Dude, I think it's probably my favorite song of all time. I just love it. And it just got me thinking about instrumental music. And a lot of the times I'm not really, I enjoy a good jazz tune or a good movie score. We think John Williams or Hans Zimmer and Nobuo Uematsu. We're thinking about the Final Fantasy games and stuff. Brilliant sort of music without words that we grew up with in video games and TV and movies. But I think it all culminates in DJ Shadow for me. And then I was like, I'm going to pass this on to my co-hosts and see what kind of, instrumental music they could think of that they want to call up. And again, you could go in a lot of different directions. Micah, ladies first, I'll start with you. Think about instrumental music that you want to shout out. What comes to mind?
Yeah, the very first thing I thought of when you sent the email was when I was a kid, my mom, she'd put on records periodically, and it was usually a lot of Fleetwood Mac and like Rod Stewart. But she also had these big band records that she'd put on. And we would just sometimes we'd be cleaning the house, which wasn't as fun, but sometimes she'd put on the records and we would just dance. And her, my sister and I, we'd move the dining room table out of the way and just have, a big open space. And I loved that as a kid, the big band and the swing music, and I still love jazz, especially as well. My mom and my Nana both loved Kenny G, and they would play Kenny G CDs a lot. So I grew up listening to that, and I really enjoyed it. I played saxophone in the school band when I was a kid. So of course I enjoyed saxophone music quite a bit. And you may not know that I was a strange child, but when I had my own little portable radio, I would always tune it to either the opera or classical music station. And I'd just be playing with my Barbies to, either or classical or opera music. And I loved that. And I would nobody else wanted to hear it. So I'd have my little headphones on, but I just adored it. So I have always really enjoyed classical music and jazz. I don't seek it out as much these days. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if, for as much as I love jazz, of course, the concept that it's so freeform is the whole point. But I think in my often anxious state, I want to expect what's going to happen. And so it's why I go to CDs that came out when I was in high school and play those the most, because I know every word and I know every single note that's going to be played. And that consistency, that predictability is nice. And so maybe I find jazz a little too scintillating to listen to, but I do occasionally want to put on like I love the Kenny G Christmas CDs, you know, those, because it's just like a unique spin on Christmas music. I fucking love Christmas, and I love Christmas music despite not being at all religious. The whole of December, I'm singing about how great Jesus is. But I love the Christmas songs. Can't get enough of them.
Jehovah
and Kenny G
did not have Christmas, right?
No Christmas. So
I was raised Jewish, and I'm an atheist agnostic, and so I adore Christmas as well. So maybe it's just
great.
We want what we couldn't have growing up, because I fucking love that shit too.
That's the thing. So I've only been celebrating Christmas since I was 18. So we joke that like in Christmases, I'm only 12 years old.
Right.
You know? So I'm still not over the magic yet. But like my doctor's office, for example, they play one of those radio stations where it's all 90s songs, but done by like a string quartet. Oh. And I love trying to figure out what song it is, because it's always just familiar enough. And it's like, I Saw the Sign played on violin. And you're like, but without the words, you're like, it's on the tip of my tongue what song this is. And I love the challenge of trying to figure out what it is. And I respect the craft. In terms of choosing our playlist for our DJ for the wedding, for like the key songs, there were some of them that I did consider doing like the string quartet version instead, just to have, because it's like, okay, maybe during cocktail hour, maybe I don't want to play that exact song because it kind of ruins the flow of the other things on the list, but I did the string quartet version and it just kind of fits in a little bit more type deal. So I appreciate the craft. And I'm just glad
Ace of Base is getting their fucking street cred finally.
That's a perfect. Yeah. When did that happen though? Like the cool 90s stations doing instrumental remixes that are actually tolerable of popular music? Because we used to call that elevator music, and it used to be
grocery store music.
Yeah.
Soft rock.
No. I mean, truly, the string quartet versions are just like, they have enough depth. They're not that weird, like elevator music sound. They are just like, this is just a good song played in a classical style, and it just kind of works. But it is funny that, this sort of off-brand version of the song, the Kroger version of the song, and you're like, actually, it's quite nice. Another thing I like to do, though, is occasionally just listen to rap beats, like instrumentals only. My sister does this because she has 2 young kids in the house. And so as much as she loves hip hop, she does not want them asking her, like, what's that mean? And so she will just put on just the beats of her favorite songs, and she knows all the words. And I like to do that too for certain songs, just because some of my favorite beats, like Say Yeah by Wiz Khalifa, I just love that beat so much. And you could inject that straight into my veins. And it's been like that since the first time I ever heard that song. It's probably been my all-time favorite beat. And I do just like to listen to just that, and just without the words at all, and just kind of vibe out to it. And like, obviously there's all other songs too, like Square Dance by Eminem is another one that I really like. And I'll just put on just the beat and just listen to that. And lastly, I love bagpipes. I don't get to listen to bagpipes.
That's right on target. That's
well, we are Scottish with our heritage. We are Scottish. I can't listen to them unless I am prepared to cry, because they make me cry every single time. No matter which songs I choose, they make me teary-eyed. We had a bagpiper at my grandpa's funeral, and to hear it like live was just so incredible, to actually be like, wow, this dude's standing right in front of me playing this thing. And I get to hear it, because my grandma would play bagpipe music like on these CDs that she had. And I just always loved it when I was a kid. And someone had said, I was actually watching like a QVC presentation, and they were selling something bagpipe related, might have been a CD or whatever. But they had said they were like, bagpipes expression of an emotion you can't put into words. And they were selling me something, yes. But it was true that when I hear bagpipes, they really do just channel something directly into my soul. And it is just this incredible sound. I know a lot of people hate it, but I think it's just an acquired taste, and I've just always loved them. But I have to be like prepared that like you can't be going anywhere after this. It always makes me very emotional to hear them.
Yeah, very emotionally manipulative sound. So just the bagpipes.
It is. It's like, because I don't know, it almost sounds like someone screaming, someone wailing.
Yeah, it's wailing. Yeah,
and like, but there's a beauty to it. I do just love them so much. So bagpipes are, I wish I could listen to them more, but they make me so deeply sad inside. Not even just sad, just emotional.
Yeah.
And that I'm just like, all right, today you can listen to bagpipes because you already did the grocery shopping. You don't have to go anywhere else. But I wouldn't put them on in the car, for example.
Yeah, no.
I don't need to be crying at a stoplight like a crazy person. I don't need the world to see that.
Mike, I'll tell you, as the son of a firefighter, and, the bag, especially post 9/11, like the bagpipes have taken on a whole new, was like always associated with funerals. But it always has been, but I get that whole Irish FDNY, firefighter, that whole culture with the bagpipes. I always known about it since a little kid, but especially post 9/11, like that's all I could think about. Every time I hear a bagpipe dirge or whatever, it's just like, that's exactly what it brings me to. Even when it's celebratory, like I think this past St. Patty's Day, I was listening to something, not live, but on television. And it just always brings me back to the firefighters, to funerals and that sort of thing. It's actually kind of unfortunate. It reminds me of instrumental music in general, though. There's something cool about not having the words and not having the lyrics, which of course we all love. But where you realize it's the music by itself that's manipulating you emotionally, whether that's happy, whether that's melancholy, whether that's, proud, whatever it is, right? Angry, it's really cool when you don't have the words to carry the weight and you're just letting the music do it, whatever kind of music it is. It's something that it flavors the music completely differently.
No, absolutely. It's something Colin and I have talked about semi-recently. He was listening to the song Breakfast at Tiffany's, and he was like, I never realized how sad that song actually was. And then I listened to it closer because, of course, it's a song I've heard on the radio since I was a child. And I was like, you're right, because the melody is upbeat enough that I truly never noticed what the lyrics were actually saying. And it is quite a sad song when you actually sit down and ponder it. But to just listen to the instrumental, it's like, yeah, this is a bop, as the young kids used to say. They don't say that anymore because old people like me start saying it. But you're right, too, about the bagpipes, just the connotation of them. I heavily considered when I was choosing the wedding music. I had seen a lot of like bagpipe wedding marches, and I would consider that for walking down the aisle. But I was just like, it's just going to make me sad. It just will. Even if they're playing a peppy tune,
Sure.
it's just going to hit me that way.
It's absolutely true. But now, Mikey, you mentioned jazz briefly. Have you ever been, I remember there was a very specific phase, Helene and I, when we were in art school in Philly, there was a jazz was kind of big in the mid to late 90s. It was like some kind of sort of jazz renaissance going on, especially in the cities. And North Philly was reestablishing itself. So like all the warehouses were getting turned into, like the old beer and paint warehouses were getting turned into apartment high rises and being transformed into clubs and different things like that. And there was a jazz club called Ortlieb's. I think it's gone now, but it was in the old Ortlieb's beer factory. So it was a really cool space, and it was a jazz club. And I remember not really knowing a lot about jazz, enjoying it, but like the fact that it was so improvisational and kind of confusing. But we were like doing the hipster thing before it was hipsters. Like we just knew it was cool. So we were going to go get dressed up and go to the jazz club. And it was kind of a cool experience because I don't think we've been since, we were dating in college. I definitely haven't been to a jazz club in 25 years. Have you ever been to one?
No, No, I would not know actually like where to find one. I think it'd be really cool. I will say my friends and I used to get high in like the Big Y parking lot, and I'd put on smooth jazz on YouTube just to make it a little more classy.
Yeah.
And it usually was not appreciated. But they, they usually let me at least listen to a couple songs. But no, that I would like to do something like that. I've done so little in my life, Dagan, so little. Of like that type of cool stuff. I didn't get to do like I've like once been to a bar, like just to go to a bar. Otherwise it's like it's not something I ever did. I've never been to a nightclub, like there's a lot of things like that. I'd like to go to a comedy club someday. That would be fun.
You've never been to a comedy club?
No.
That's fun.
Wow.
No. I mean, like, so I've been to one concert in my life. And like this summer, Gene and I are supposed to go to the Ninja Sex Party concert together. And I'm really excited because like, I'll be my second concert. I get to go with my main man, Gene. It's going to be awesome. But I'm like, yeah, I have not done many of those things. I'm also admittedly, though, a very anxious person who hates crowds. I was initially going to say no to going to the concert with Gene, and Colin's like, I know you want to go. And if you tell Gene you don't want to go, I'm going to message him and say you do want to go. And I was like, fair enough. So that's I am, though, just I avoid most things that I think are it's going to be too many people and too much this and too much that. And then I'm like, yeah, you should have gone, but whatever, So you've inspired me, Dagan. I'm going to look up if there's a jazz club nearby. And then Colin will be like, I don't want to do that. And I'll be like, that's great.
There's definitely got to be that. They definitely got to exist in Richmond, right? You would think there's got to be some jazz clubs down there and some nightclubs and some comedy clubs.
Oh, I mean, I'm too old for the nightclub. Let's all be real.
Come on, no, you're not.
I have no business at a nightclub.
No way. You're not at all.
I have no interest in those, but comedy clubs and jazz clubs and piano bars, very relaxing, man. You just go and you just chill. Oh, it's so relaxing. So delightfully relaxing. But yeah, the nightclubs, no.
And then
I don't like the strobe light. I find it very, very oppressive.
Oppressive.
It reminds me. Okay, so when I was from ages 12 to 19, I had a chronic motor tic, and I wasn't able to look at strobe lights and things like that, or it would really set it off.
Okay.
But I already didn't like it. Here's the thing: is that I hated it more. I always hated strobe lights, but I hated them more. Because of that. And so now it's like I can look at a strobe light now, I'm gonna be perfectly fine. But I was just like, bro, I've always hated them, and now I hate them even more.
Damn.
That's still a thing. I don't even know. Like, shout out to you guys won't know what this is, but Jaffe might. Black Sheep's song "Strobe Light Honey," about not being able to see a girl clearly in a club and like getting the digits while you can't really get a full picture of what they look like. The strobe light honey is someone who you're just taking a chance on because you could only see them in the strobe light.
Yeah.
Black Sheep, strobe light honey, I'm going to say 94, 93.
I think strobe lights, I think Spencer's Gifts in the back where they had all the, or I think the scene from Blade where he goes into the nightclub with all the vampires. Yeah. That's a hell of a shit.
That's strobe light. Yeah,
absolutely.
See, that's the other thing about going to the nightclub in your 30s is they're not going to be playing the Jersey Shore like house music that I want to hear. Okay, like I don't know what the hell they're going to be playing.
That's a
but
good
it's not going to be stuff for people my age. All right, like
yeah.
I'd have to go to a specific like give me a nightclub for millennials. All right. Yeah. And I want to hear all the Jersey Shore music.
That's what the Molly is for. It doesn't really matter what they're playing.
No, not drugs. No. That's the other thing. That's something that I have not really experienced, but I'm perfectly okay with. It's like I shouldn't do coke.
You shouldn't do coke, but you should do weed, and then you should do DMT.
Oh, yeah,
You've been there.
I've smoked weed. That's plenty. Okay. That's like I don't love it. No. I remember when I got my wisdom teeth out and they gave me Percocet and I really didn't like it and I threw them away.
Those are tough.
Okay. Fair.
I make poor financial decisions.
Yeah, really.
But I was just like, this makes me feel weird. And I threw them out and I was like, I don't want these.
I didn't come to drugs till very late. Not that I'm 90, but I didn't smoke weed till I was probably 36 years old.
Wow.
But now, and again, I don't do the hard stuff at all, but the spirituality of it and the opportunity to sort of, whether you're actually going outer or inner is up for debate, but to experience and perceive things in a very different and meaningfully different way, I think is an experience people should have from time to time. I don't recommend being like, hey, every fucking day, unless you're into that, that's fine. But it doing drugs has been the most spiritual experience I've ever had. So, but to each their own.
But not just weed, Jaffe. You're talking about other things as well.
No, I want to do DMT and ayahuasca badly, but I've not yet been in the position to do it. But I have had enough weed before that people, I've gone to doctors and they said, yeah, certain amounts of weed that you're talking about can trigger hallucinations. And really? I've seen creatures and I've recorded the conversations with them. And it was, I have it on the internet right now. It was really, I know, Micah, you're smiling, but it was like my experience the last time I had this massive amount was I was talking to these entities and they said, we know that you want to know things and we will show you those things, but we cannot allow you to take those back into your reality, but we can let you remember that we showed them to you. And it was such a fascinating process of like, I wanted to record it. And so I was talking and I did record it. It was almost like having to claw your way out of like a grave in order to just say in our reality what I'm experiencing. And then I went back in. I mean, it was
that's fascinating.
It was absolutely delightful.
Absolutely fascinating.
Let's see. And I want to be very clear. I'm not smiling in a mocking way. I'm smiling. No, I'm smiling because to me that is terrifying, and I can't believe that you would want to do it again.
I want to go deeper.
Reason why, that's the thing. The reason why I don't even really like smoking weed that much is because I have been accidentally violently high and just being like, whoa, I do not like this feeling. Like I've never been drunk before either. I don't like not being in control. I don't like not being in control of my thoughts and whatnot. I'm like, and you're locked into it for like 3 hours.
If you have some meditation experience, and I'm not some guru with this shit, but I've meditated enough that fear of being out of control, you're never really out of control. You can kind of sit above it and be present for the anxiety. And once you kind of get vibing with that, you don't really lose yourself to the, oh my God, what's happening? You're just like, no, that's just a character I'm playing. I'm up here. It's delightful. But hey, if you want to spend the rest of your life listening to fucking bagpipe Ace of Base, that's fine. I'll send you a greatest hits album. You know, all that she wants played on the bagpipe. It's going to be great.
Exactly. Yeah. That's my level of spiritual transformation.
I would transform the fuck out of my spirit if I had an Ace of Base greatest hits played on the bagpipe. Goddamn right.
I'm with Micah though. I'm terrified of that, but like Jaffe's saying, like I absolutely believe there's something to that. Like where drugs and what they're saying now with ayahuasca and DMT, like I do believe it takes your psyche to a place that you can't go without it. Yeah. And I'm fascinated with it, but I'm just
and it is natural. I don't think you should be doing heroin or meth or cocaine. But you know, I mean, ketamine, there's a lot of therapeutic value for psilocybin these days that is kind of coming finally out of that negative place of a lot of reasons, different podcasts, but or different topic. But you know, there's a lot of depression relief that comes from ketamine clinics. And
people say,
so it's good stuff if you are responsible and if you do it in a way that is, you know what you're doing. I don't recommend, I think, look, man, to be a kid today, to be your daughter at 18 going to the University of Miami, that kid is going to get high on all kinds of shit. So hopefully you've raised her well, but she's
a good egg.
She's a good egg, but she's going to come home and say, Papa D, you have got to try this DMT, baby. I smoked dope with my kids. We hotboxed. I'd never done hotboxing before. I didn't even know what it was. And my kid came home from Vegas, her and her boyfriend, and somebody else who was underage, my son, and we sat in the back of a van, his minivan, and we just smoked a couple joints. And my God, it was delightful. And I'm like,
that's the way to do it.
I had never heard of hotboxing. They're like, yeah, you have to do. I'm like, oh, this is good. And they're like, yeah, we know. Wonderful.
Micah, going out, we're going to find you that campy Jersey Shore club. Because there's got to be a lot of people of a certain age that want.
There's always 90s nights and 80s nights and early 2000s.
Yeah, for sure.
They wanted to live.
Because like Brad, unfortunately, you were not with us at the time to go to the wedding, but like on the dance floor, man, I was beating up the beat just like they used to do on Jersey, or you start real low on the floor and I'm pumping my fist, all right, because I fucking loved Jersey Shore. All right, I'm not Italian, so it didn't offend me at all, and I just adored that show. It was mayhem, and the music, man, the music, man. Jersey Shore was a moment, and I tried to relive it on my wedding in terms of the musical selections.
Did you have Colin? Shore? Colin was playing the role of, what was it? The Situation was the guy's name. You know,
the Situation was interviewed recently, and like he was wearing a shirt that was way too small. I don't know if anyone saw this, but like it's just like it was a button-down shirt, and like there was just like it was just gaping open as it would for like a large busted woman. But it's like, who put you in that shirt and said, "Yeah, go on air"? Like, it truly is like, it's just the wrong size, man. Like, get him a different shirt.
Do you watch a lot of reality TV still, or no?
No, I generally hate it. There was something about Jersey Shore that I just was like, these people are out of their fucking minds, and I got to see what happens next. But otherwise, I can't stand reality TV. I like hate pretty much all of it. But Jersey Shore, I won't lie. Like, Jersey Shore did in some ways truly change my life. In terms of, I saw how batshit these people were, and I was like, you play things so incredibly safe. Look at these nut jobs out here. Right. And I didn't go to their level, but I did start, like, I used to never, like, dress the way I wanted to. I was too afraid to, like, get my nose pierced, things like that. And I was like, bro, you play it so fucking safe. Look at these people. You can dial it up a little bit. A little bit,
yeah.
And I did.
That's good.
Thank you, Jersey Shore. You changed my life.
I was so pissed at Jersey Shore because I was at the Spike TV Awards one year and we were nominated for something. And this, and it was like, nobody cares about video game developers at all, let alone back then. And so the best game of the year was given out by the Jersey Shore cast. And I'm like, what the fuck are these? Bring Miyamoto, bring up, Sid Meier. I'm like, who the fuck is Suki, whatever the fuck her name is.
She's not even Italian.
I'm like, fuck them, but no. Wait, I'm threatening my brain with watching the Jake Paul reality show that just came on. So
that's new,
yeah. Yeah, Paul American or something is what it's called. So,
that's what it's called. Yeah. Paul American.
I'm just saying, I kind of want to watch it because they drive me crazy. They're such idiots. So,
Jaffe, I'm staying with you, man. Keep going with the instrumental music. Let me hear you.
I mean, look, I will agree with you. I can't speak musical theory. I can't really speak to it in a way that's very intelligent. But I do think at an anecdotal level, the idea of music without lyrics, connecting, or at least seemingly connecting to our psyche in a way that is just staggeringly powerful. I have had those experiences. I used to really love movie soundtracks. These days, when I used to do creative work, when I was like writing a story or whatever, or working on a level, I would absolutely put on music from movies. John Williams, Jerry Goldsmith, 80s, early 90s, Hans Zimmer, blah, blah, blah. God of War was designed primarily to the Mummy Returns soundtrack, the Flash Gordon soundtrack, and the Gladiator soundtrack. So I used to love that. Now, most of the instrumental stuff I listen to is either when I am stoned or when I do want to take a nap. And I'll put on, like, I'll go to YouTube and I'll type in space ambiance music. And it's just this kind of ethereal, semi-spiritual, high fantasy kind of thing. And that really allows me to just sort of lose consciousness and go dreaming, which is fun. White Lotus, although the guy who composes White Lotus has just announced he won't be back for season 4. But if you've ever watched White Lotus, especially the first 2 seasons, that is one of the most original instrumental soundtracks I've ever heard. Yeah, do you guys watch that? Does anybody watch that here?
No, I haven't seen
it. Not the new season yet, but the
new season's really good. But that music I'm talking about, that weird, like, it's weird voices and shit. It's very strange. I like that. The thing that really, stands out to me is about 3 years ago when I was kind of, you can always go back and do different things, but I was at a point where I really had to make a decision about, do I want to keep streaming and making podcast content, or do I want to look at some of these opportunities that are coming my way to get back into video games? And I happened upon, I don't even think you can find the whole thing on Spotify, but somebody had taken the soundtrack from the movie from 84, 85 Explorers that Jerry Goldsmith did. And for me, that was when I was so, as a kid, I was like 15, 16, whatever. I was so dialed into wanting to make films, wanting to write creative content. And I for a week was like, what have I been doing with this streaming? What have I been doing with this podcasting? It is almost like I was being called. This music triggered something where I'm like, I have to go back. What am I doing? I called my agent at the time and I said, okay, I'm back. I'm all in. I want to,
Shit.
And then after about a week, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. But I mean, my point, the reason I bring it up though, is it's like, there is something, especially when you strip out the words, that I'm sure smarter people and people who have studied this, there's something about how it can affect you and trigger certain memories and emotions. And all it takes is a specific piece of music. And in that case, it was Jerry Goldsmith. But I use music from a utility standpoint. Like, I want to relax a little bit. I want to do this. I want to do that. I don't have the kind of deep knowledge base a lot of people have. I will tell you though, like when we were hotboxing, joking aside, we had a Spotify playlist going. So everybody it's like, okay, what do you want? What do you want? We would just queue it up. And I don't think, and I know there's words in this, but, and I know it's such a cliche, but there's a reason why it's a trope that Comfortably Numb is probably the best song to listen to when you're high, because it just captures that sense of just, it's such a sense of, that line, like, you are only coming through in waves, that sense of just, we're all this is facade. All this is facade. We are something else is just beautiful. And then I like Enya. I like Kenny G. I saw Kenny G live. He opened for Whitney Houston doing the I Want to Dance.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was a good concert. I like all that stuff. But I'm not versed enough to speak to it. The last thing I'll say is I like synth shit. There's a guy called Dream Kid who I follow on social media, but he does all this kind of 80s Stranger Things style. And that just brings me back to the arcade days and the mall days and the big summer movie days. And I can just lose myself to that. Mm-hmm. I love the synthy 80s shit. So that's all I got, baby. That's all I got.
That's fun. I love it. Kenny G is a great call up. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Well, and dude, yeah. I was gonna never go on the Kenny G subreddit because these people are just like, he's a hack, he's horrible, and I'm like, are you out of your mind?
The man sold bajillions of records with saxophone music. Shut the fuck up, you fucking.
I can't believe this. That's just pure jealousy. But Brad, I got a quick Game Grumps story for you. One time Dan was at an airport, and if you know what Dan looks like, he's, a white gentleman with curly hair. Mm-hmm. And he said an older Asian couple approached him and was like, "Oh, how wonderful to see you." And he's like, and as I'm walking away, the guy said to his wife, "Do you know who that was? That was Kenny G."
Damn, that's awesome.
And he just let them have it of they thought they met Kenny G at the airport.
Look anything like Kenny G.
Better than Weird Al.
Close enough.
Weird Al and Kenny G kind of are the same, So at least it was Kenny G. But he got the short end. Game Grumps, though, Brad, you weren't on Game Grumps, right? That wasn't your show, was it?
No.
I just talk about them a lot.
No, she loves Game Grumps.
Okay. I was on some episode on the tester with one of the Game Grumps guys who was competing that got kicked off. And everyone, because I was older, so I didn't come up with Game Grumps, so I didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. And everyone's like, it's the Game Grumps. I'm like, who are these people? But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mike, I'm assuming this is going to kind of force some sort of interaction between you and Game Grumps as this keeps going. Right? They have to acknowledge that you talk about them all the time.
Oh, they have no idea I exist.
Doesn't Gene know them? Or one of them?
Of course he does. Yeah, he took pictures with them. So he went to the Ninja Sex Party on tour right now, and he went to the DC concert and took pictures with Dan and Brian, and I'm just like, man, I'm so fucking jealous right now. He wrote the foreword for or whatever you'd call it in the album for one of the Starbomb albums.
Oh, he talked about
he
this.
wrote what would go in the CD pamphlet.
Right.
So yeah. No, he knows them. That lucky
Wait,
fuck.
Ninja Sex Party is Game Grumps?
It's one
Ninja
guy.
Sex Party is Dan and Ninja Brian. And then Starbomb is Dan and Aaron doing like video game themed raps that are quite
but
entertaining.
Dan is a Game Grump guy.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, cool. Okay.
Now,
And
Michael,
Ninja
what
Sex
sort of-
Party is gaming theme music?
No,
Oh.
it's a comedy. It's all like comedy, like based in their like improv background, essentially.
Okay.
And so it's a mix of like genres, though. They really have quite the variety in their discography. And it's like, and some of their songs are more heartfelt. They also do really great covers. They have a series of albums called Under the Covers. And those are just really great covers of like 80s music, Chicago, and
awesome.
stuff like that. And those are also very well done, and I enjoy those too.
Love Chicago.
What sort of venues are they playing, Michael? Like, are they coming down to Richmond? Are they playing DC?
Right. I mean, here they're playing at the National, which is where we did our live show in Richmond. I don't know. Like, I know they were doing Boston as well. It was a big tour, and a lot of the dates were sold out last I saw, like, on Instagram. But I don't know much about, like, the actual venues themselves. I don't go to shows. So these are all meaningless. Unless it's the Worcester Palladium. I haven't heard of it. And I don't know even what that looks like. I've never been to it. I've just heard of it.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be too intimidating for you to go to a show in terms of like being around a lot of people, because they're not stadium events or even like thousands of people. Those are real manageable. So don't have too much anxiety about going to a show like that. That's a nice scale for you, I think.
So the show's not till June.
Okay.
And I've been feeling anxious about it for 2 months. So
Damn.
I've tried not to think about it, but the anxiety is ever present and always there.
You did a show there, right? I mean,
I'm never in the shows though. Like, I'm way too shy for that. I had to go on stage for the group photo and I wanted to die. So that's not me at all. I don't belong up there. Like, I've had people ask like for previous live shows, like, oh, will you ever be in the show? And it's like, I'd rather swallow knives. Like, I'd like to. If it was within my power, I would do it. But I don't think I could ever force myself to go up on stage and also form coherent sentences. I think I'd go on stage, shit pants, collapse.
People would pay for that show. I'm just saying, if you're ever...
They might.
Yeah.
I mean, well, they already paid for it. They already did pay.
True.
They are simply now in the audience observing.
That's giving people their money's worth, though, in a way, too. So
Yeah, totally.
Could be
Night
fun.
to remember, that's for sure.
It could be something. Maybe the next one. Should we do another live show? No, I'm not even going to even put that in the ether. I'm never going to be on stage.
I disagree. I think it's going to happen over time. You're not giving yourself enough credit, Micah. You'll get there. You'll definitely get there. Brad, what do you think? Instrumental music, my friend.
Yeah.
Music with no words. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this, actually. I grew up listening to a lot of music. My parents are super into music. Same with my brother. So we're a family that really loved the music and stuff like that. I feel like, some families bond over sports teams and stuff like that. Not in my house. No one gives a shit about sports in my family. But we all love music. We all love talking about music each other. So yeah, I've listened to a lot of good stuff. I am a big fan of like classical music. I really like a lot. Like Beethoven, of course. Furelise is like one of the best songs ever, in my opinion. I love that shit. Moonlight Sonata, of course, so good. Some Vivaldi stuff, throw it in there. Love that. I do like jazz a lot too. I think it's great. It's so weird because a lot of music nowadays is like, I don't know a lot of the artists' names now. I just know because everything's just like, it's on a playlist. Hey, just spit it out. It's all just right there. So I just listen to kind of whatever it's on. So I like jazz. I like lo-fi hip hop is fine. I like stuff like that. I actually listened to this radio station called KUSC. It is in USC. It's like all classical music, and I like them a lot. 91.5 if you're around here in SoCal. It's good shit.
Wow.
But I listen to that a lot.
Did your parents introduce you to classical music? Was that how you got your intro?
I don't know if they were like, I don't know. I can't remember a time where it's like the family getting around listening to chamber music or anything like that. But don't know. It was around occasionally and stuff like that, but not like super much. I think I liked it more than most of them, maybe to an extent. They do like it a lot, but like, I don't know, maybe I got interested more as I got older, I feel like.
Did you guys go to the symphony as a family or in school or anything like that?
No, we were too poor to do anything like that. I mean, school we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing for like family. We would go to like some concerts and stuff together as a family, but not like the symphony or anything like that. We haven't done. But I did that in school. It was cool. But like, yeah, I've been to piano bars and jazz clubs, and it's all awesome. You know, I really like listening to music. There's some instrumental bands I like a lot. One of my favorite ones is called Chon. It was these guys from, I think, like San Diego. I don't think they're around anymore, but I really liked them a lot. They always reminded me of like, I don't know, with music, sometimes I associate it with like seasons or weather or something like that. It always reminded me of like fall, and I always appreciated that. I don't know why.
I'll look them up.
But I like that a lot. And of course, Dag, you know, growing up in Jaffe playing video games, of course, the music of Uematsu, like you're saying, Dagan, legendary, just such a big part of my childhood. Koji Kondo, of course, with Nintendo and all that stuff too. So
do you find it now? Like, I mean, there is some great video game music now, but because it sounds like movie music at this point, I do miss the more, this is clearly from a video game.
Sure. Yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah. Where it feels like more video game-y, I should say. Yeah. I do like stuff like that. Video game music that is like trying to be too much like a movie soundtrack is not as interesting to me usually. I feel like the music's better if it blends itself some way into the gameplay often. Like I think of like Doom or something like that, the new Doom games, how well it works in there and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm open to all types. But yeah, like, I mean, you're saying God of War stuff. I think God of War music fit perfectly in with that, what it was doing.
But it was filmic. It wasn't...
Exactly. It was, but it worked well.
It worked well with that.
It did, but I don't enjoy putting it on. Like, there's a, you know... Starfield has a great theme. Dragon Age Veilguard has a great theme. The new Star Wars game, Outlaws, has a great theme.
Yeah.
But I don't want to put that entire soundtrack on.
No, not the entire soundtrack. That's funny, Jaffe. One of my friends... growing up, he would blast the God of War theme in his car. I remember just blast.
That's awesome.
So he was a big fan of that one. But yeah, of course, video game music. Like I remember when I was doing reviews for work and stuff, I would write to like Animal Crossing music because it was very soothing and very calm, but like had enough going on to keep me interested. So yeah, instrumental music is a big part of my life.
Do you guys subscribe to that Nintendo service they just started up last year?
Yeah, I have that. Yeah.
No.
The Nintendo music.
Is it good? I mean,
if you like Nintendo music, yeah, it's cool.
You can't get that on YouTube though?
Well, I mean, not through Nintendo themselves.
Right.
They're curating it.
If you have a Nintendo online account, you get it. So I already have it.
If they had did it like, I would do it if they did it like, what is that? Sirius, where they had like a channel and they had composers talking about it. Like, you know, and it's like, oh, here's the Zelda hour and it's
they don't do anything like that.
No, that would be cool. I would
that
love
would be
that.
cool. I would love that. I would love
really
to
cool.
if they gave like insight into a lot of this stuff. Yeah, I'd absolutely love that.
Do you want to hear some dude's voice cutting in though when you're using, you know, the Nintendo Music app?
No, I mean you give it an option.
You know, like intimate moments. You know,
you just
like,
do an option for it.
I'm just saying, like, if you're playing the Nintendo Music app when you have a lady friend over, I don't think you want to cut in with. And here's, you know,
let's put it this way.
I think I would
if
like. If
you've got the moxie and charisma to get a lady friend over and be intimate while playing Nintendo music, baby, nothing's gonna break your stride. It don't matter. It doesn't matter who comes in because I don't know any man that could pull that off.
I could have pulled that off. Jeff.
You think you could have pulled that off?
Yeah, 20 years ago, 30.
All right,
30.
fair enough. Fair enough.
40 years
like,
ago.
oh, Dagan, you nasty, nasty man. What is this? It's third boss and Punch Out, sweetheart. Get over here.
Yeah. It's Bowser's theme.
Hyrule Field.
I'll show you my Hyrule Field. Show me your master sword. You goddamn right.
Show you my piston Honda.
Body blow. You goddamn right. You goddamn right.
But yeah, Mike, I'm curious about this because you know Death Note, right? The anime, of course.
Oh yeah.
I love the soundtrack of that show. It's so good. It's like all like, of course, there's like classical, like, you know, cellos and violins and stuff like that, more like symphony stuff. But There's a lot of like guitar and just bass and drum stuff that's really well done. And I'm a big fan of that as well. So yeah, I'm super into music with no lyrics and all that stuff. I mean, I love music with lyrics as well, but I'm an enjoyer of all of it. Even like random stuff like some bluegrass song out here or something like that. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Some country kind of thing. Yeah, it's sweet.
Yeah,
And you're a musician too, right?
Slightly, yeah.
So
I
you have
dabble.
an appreciation on that level as well, which I don't know.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Always admired that. Yeah, you know what's funny about, I think about Hans Zimmer a lot. I'm playing a game that clearly is influenced by his music right now. We're going to talk about it on Knockback soon. But I realized as great as that guy's music is, and sort of put on the map pre-Christopher Nolan, but especially with the Christopher Nolan movies, right? Like he's had such an enormous impact on video game music now that I actually think it's detrimental. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
it's too influential. You know, like somebody, you got it's actually kind of, it's like put a dam in like creativity because everybody just wants to take a page out of his book musically.
It's full circle though, right? To an extent, because when we did God of War, speaking of that soundtrack, we reached out to the Holst estate who wrote the planets, right? And he has a whole suite called the planets, and he goes through most of the planets.
Okay.
And one is called Mars, the Bringer of War, and it's like dun 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 dun. You know, but John Williams. And I love John Williams, but John Williams went in and pretty much you can't listen to The Empire Strikes Back or Star Wars without going, it's crazy the Holst estate didn't sue somebody.
Oh, I got to look at that.
It's not public domain because they told us no, because I wanted the main bad guy theme in God of War to be Mars, the Bringer of War. And they were like, yeah, we're not going to let you do that. Right. So the fact that Williams got away with it, my point being is that they really do rob from each other. The classics go to movies go to games, now games go back to movies. But I agree with you though. The Zimmer style is kind of, it's enough, you know.
That's enough. No,
that's enough now.
You guys were doing
that. That'll do, pig. That'll do. What?
Yeah, that'll do. I know if it's not broken, we shouldn't fix it, but it might be time to fix it. Yeah, man, that was great. And I'll give a shout out instrumental music. If you guys like electronic music, there's a band, it's a Scottish duo of brothers. I might have mentioned them before on different shows, called Boards of Canada. It's just two Scottish dudes, two bros, all electronic. I remember being exposed to it in the early aughts. Somebody had it at work. I was working at a small studio at the time, and we took turns, like at that time with CD. We would just play, all right, it's your turn to play a CD. Dagan, it's your turn to play a CD, Julian, whatever. And my friend Jules introduced me to this band. He's like, Dagan, I just have a feeling you're going to love this. And the music just sounds nostalgic. I don't even, especially if you're my age, like it just invokes a very 70s, early 80s vibe with the sampling. They sample a lot of old commercials, a lot of old TV shows, and it's very lo-fi on purpose. And it just makes me feel like it just invokes like avocado green and wood paneling. Like it just makes me feel like a little kid.
I'm listening to it right now. It's really cool. Everything You Do is a Balloon. It sounds total.
Dude, that's a great track.
Yeah.
Great band, Boards of Canada. They have a lot of albums. They do a lot of crazy things where they put a lot of subliminal stuff into their music and into the artwork for the album covers that help you track different things, and everything has a hidden meaning. It's very layered. I don't know if they're still active at the moment. They were active up until very recently. Always maintained a very underground sort of, still do, very European, very underground, still like announce like a live show the day before and 200 people show up, even though they're huge. Very interesting band, but really beautiful melodic music, but definitely with that nostalgia. If you're like a 40
it feels like something that would be in a horror film, like a Skinamarink or it's got this kind of, it's so bare bones. It seems just what I'm listening to. Yeah.
There's like a dread to it.
Yeah.
And they describe it as sounding evil. I never got that. Like I know a lot of the stuff they say, like it's intentionally supposed to sound evil. I never really got that. It just sounds mysterious to me, but check it out. Yeah, a lot of people, actually, it's really strange. When you're a suburban dad and you're sort of an artsy fartsy retired skater, and you just feel like I'm amongst a bunch of people that don't understand me. My daughter's best friend, her dad, came into Wawa one night. I ran into him. He had a Boards of Canada t-shirt on. And I was like, holy shit, you're wearing a board, because no one knows about this band, right? You're wearing a Boards of Canada t-shirt, and we bonded over Boards of Canada, and I realized, holy shit, this dad that's in the neighborhood is cool. Because Celine's like, you're so judgmental. You think nobody gets you. You got all these odd, eclectic tastes. And I bonded with this dad, who happens to be my daughter's best friend's dad, over Boards of Canada. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's cool.
Right? Because you're kind of all wearing the suburban dad sort of costume, right? You're wearing the outfit. You're all blending in. You don't know each other's tastes in music and things, or where you come from, your origins, right? So that was kind of neat. My fandom in Boards of Canada paid off. I found a pal in the neighborhood who gets me, right?
That should not be the victory it is in your mind. You should say, when you go to sleep tonight, say yes to the voice that comes to you and says, shall we go back in time, Dagan, to meet 15-year-old Dagan? Please, for all of our sakes, sir, say yes tonight. Say yes tonight.
I might just do that.
Yeah.
I might just do that. Yeah. Well, listen, I'm satisfied, my friends. Thank you for keeping it a little shorter for me today. The voice not doing that great. I got another 5-hour podcast to do in 48 hours. I'm a little nervous.
Is that the one you were telling us about at the beginning?
Yeah.
And are you ready? Like, you've completed the activity that needs to be completed?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
No, I imagine I'm close based on hours to beat. I'm always over by about 10 hours because I scavenge and craft and explore.
When this goes live, will people know what it is or no?
When this goes live, no, I'm not sure. I think.
So I don't want to say anything.
Yeah, we can't say it.
Yeah.
Can't say it.
You should just build in some time to process after. You don't want to finish and go right to the mic. You want to give yourself a little process time.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. That's definitely fair. Because again, nothing's spoiled for me. So I don't know what's going to happen, what's left. Yeah. You guys know where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it off camera, and I don't know how close I am. Because I have that OCD where I always have to tack on 10 to 12 hours based on what most people finish the game at, where I'm just doing the old school RPG, scouring every pixel type of thing.
Too, yeah.
It's maddening.
Dagan meanders through games. Whereas I wish I had that, because it's why I struggle. As much as I have enjoyed the Zelda games I've played, you're supposed to meander. You're supposed to just go around and talk to every fucking person and look under every rock. And I'm just like, but what am I supposed to do? What actually unlocks the next activity? It's like, man, you're supposed to meander. I just don't have it.
But that's why you probably finish games. You and Colin.
I do finish the
I
games.
talked to him the other day. He's like, I just finished Adamfall, and I saw you 100% at Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I'm like, I'm barely out of the first act in that fucking game, right? So I don't know how you guys do that, because I can't do it. I get bored after a while. I wish I did, though, because I want to finish these games, but I get easily distracted.
Oh, see, that's interesting.
Well, it sucks, but
I don't know if it's just that we're revisiting mostly games that I missed that Colin considers, and most people consider classics. So I'm inherently playing really good games for the show. So it's always magnetic, and I'm always sad to finish them.
Yeah, but you have to finish them also as part of the job.
Sure. Right. Because you got to talk about a soup to nuts.
Right. That's right.
But this game right now that I'm playing, I just think I'm sorry, I don't want to spoil it, but I just think every other game I've ever played pales in comparison. I've never been so emotionally invested in my life.
No hints, nothing.
No hints.
No hints.
All right, you guys, let's save it. We'll go out. Well, let's end this thing. I want to go around for goodbyes. We're heading into the weekend. I appreciate you. This is a good group. Really enjoyed this. I mean, I enjoy all of you guys very much, but I didn't think I would enjoy it quite this much. Very pleasant surprise. Micah, even you, my friend. Micah, say goodbye to me. What's going on this weekend? What's going on in your guys' lives?
Well, it's up in the air right now. I am watching the forecast because originally Sunday is supposed to rain and I wouldn't be able to run the smoker, and I'd very much like to. But the forecast is shifting and the chance of rain is dropping day by day. So tomorrow I'll make the final decision, go to the grocery store, buy probably a chuck roast is what I'd like to smoke and have that ready for Sunday. I can make it a pot roast in the crock pot should the plan fail, but I'm feeling like I'm going to get to run the smoker this weekend.
Nice.
I love it. Colin's such a lucky bastard. He gets you not only do you do all the meals, but you really enjoy it. He's a well-fed. It's like, Mike, I know you're not Italian, but you really bring in the food. You bring in the cuisine like an authentic Italian chick.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I entered a contest to win a pellet smoker.
Oh.
And if I should win that smoker, I mean, we're going to be using it even more because it's like preheating an oven, essentially. Like you don't have as much work as getting the charcoal fire going and all that. So should I win that smoker, we're going to be using it a lot.
I just have to say, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it because Colin, on the last time I talked to Colin on this week on Sacred Symbols or ex Jaffe Moriarty, whatever it was called, he self-identifies as wealthy. Right? He says he's wealthy now. You guys are wealthy. Wealthy people should not be entering contests to win shit they can fucking afford. Can I just fucking say that?
Oh, I can't afford it. I mean, I'm not going to ask him to buy me an $800 smoker.
Husband, you kill him tonight and hide it. You get all the money.
I also am not. So here's the thing. I mean, it's a couple of reasons. I'm not 100% sold on the idea. So I don't really want to invest $800 in it. No. And I'll say too, primarily the people in this barbecue group that I'm in, they are wealthy because these people are running, like they have smokers that cost $5,000.
Oh,
like
wow.
These are people who have custom offset smokers that they spent $3,000 to $10,000 on. So like the other people entering the contest have like way more money than I do.
But do those people tend to be commercial?
$5,000 is an episode and a half of Sacred Symbols. It's nothing. It's nothing.
There you go. Yeah, how many Patreon supporters is that?
Yeah. No, we'll factor that in. How much merch did I sell? Okay, right. I get the smoker.
But that's exciting, though. That's fun. I love that you love doing it. You have to post pictures. I assume you're going to post pictures for us?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
I post on Twitter.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm
grill,
always checking out the cooking over there. So
that's so
I
cool.
wouldn't eat it because it's meat, but it does look good. But it's meat.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Now, Micah, these people that share your enthusiasm for grilling and smoking, spending $5,000 on a smoker, are these just hobbyists, or are these people that own restaurants and stuff?
Oh, primarily hobbyists. There are some people in the group that do competition cooking, but a lot of it is just people who just love to cook at home for their families, for parties. Cool. And they simply were like, oh, I'm just going to invest in the nicest smoker I can afford. But it's really, the whole grilling scene is kind of like that. Like you can get like a Napoleon gas grill that is like top of the line and they're expensive. Or like the Weber Summit Kamado grill, like those are like $1,000.
Oh, wow.
Like grilling is not the most affordable hobby if you want like premium equipment. Of course, you can get a really excellent grill that'll get the job done. But like my main grill is a Weber Performer Premium. And those, when I bought it a couple of years ago, those were running like $400. Okay. Now she should last like 20 years. My dad has had the same grill for over 20 years and she's still going strong.
She like a boat?
Yeah. Right. I mean, I named it Weber San.
Oh my.
And then the smoker's Weber Kuhn. So.
Okay.
Shout out
staying
Weber.
away from that.
I'm going to blaspheme here, Micah. I have a Weber too. I gas grill. I know it's not cool. No,
gas grills are fine. I'm scared the propane tank is going to blow up and kill me. So I stick to charcoal.
We had the Napoleon actually, but couldn't use it. It was bad.
Oh.
Bad for my back. It was terrible.
Oh. Interesting. Yeah, Weber makes
poor Brad is so tall he couldn't even reach down to use a grill.
You'd have to stoop.
Brad could never. Brad could never be shrimping.
For me, yeah.
Be shrimping at the grill.
Yeah, 6'2" and then way too goofy height. Yes. Like I'm
Dude, Brad's
I'm
like
Shaq.
6'5".
I'm 6'2".
You're not 6'2". I've seen you. There's
I'm
just
not
no
6'5".
way.
That's way.
You were so tall. I felt like I was like looking up at like God. All right, I was like, "There's no way."
Yeah, we
But
were
you're
just
short.
talking about
So
this.
what do you want
I
from
am.
me?
No. We all saw him.
That's
Everybody
true.
here saw him.
You saw me.
Brad's really tall.
You
True.
never get that on camera. We said the same thing about Gene.
That's
You
what
just
always
don't see
happens.
it.
Yeah.
Gene's tall?
Yeah. Gene's tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was shocked when I first see Gene's like a big guy.
Interesting.
And you don't get that on camera. You just don't.
Mm-mm.
Gotta appreciate that in person. Brad, what do you think, man? We're going into the weekend.
Oh yeah. Finishing my taxes, so that'll be fun. Doing all that.
I hear that.
I'm gonna eat, then go to the gym after this.
Mhm.
Need a little exercise. Feel good. And yeah, gotta prep summon sign and punching up for later this week. Got a lot of news to read over, so busy weekend. Hopefully play some good games though. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna talk about on the show.
We talked about this, but remind me, how often you go into the gym?
Trying to do 5 days a week.
Okay. Yeah, my son, my 14-year-old going on 15-year-old is super into it. We got a membership
Good.
at Planet Fitness. He
Good.
wants to go every day. I think he decided he's going to take Sundays off, and then he's got a
he
whole
should take
plan drawn
He should
up.
take a day off at least.
Yeah, he's got to have the day off.
Yeah.
Wants to go for an hour a day, maybe an hour and a half Friday nights and Saturdays. He's got a whole regimen planned. You know,
Cool.
he works
Yeah.
on this, he works on that. He's taking it very seriously.
How long has he been doing it?
We're only a week deep.
Oh, okay.
We're just starting our second week.
Okay. So you're just starting. Okay.
We're just starting our second week.
All right. It's about the consistency of years.
Yeah.
Like that's good steps.
He's into it.
Yeah, good.
You know,
That's
he's
awesome.
enjoying. What the problem is, I get bored as hell, man. I can't with the gym, but I have to take him because he's underage,
Yeah.
right? So I have to be there with him. So I just run on the treadmill. I don't really need cardio. I need to work out my T-Rex arms,
Sure.
but I'm not lifting weights in the gym. I'm just way too self-conscious.
Don't worry, everyone. There's all kinds of people in the gym, all
I
types
know.
of weights. Don't think about anyone else. Just think about yourself. Don't
And
worry
we're
about
at
what everyone
Planet-
else lifts in.
Well, that's the thing. You can't. You can't.
No.
You can't be insecure. But the thing, and Planet Fitness does the whole thing where it's all written on the walls, like everyone belongs. Like they couldn't be more like, you fit
don't
in
worry
here,
about
you
it.
know.
Yeah, don't worry about it, dude.
And you go in and you see muscle dudes.
Yeah.
You see dudes that look like
See all
they're-
types. Muscle
you see
dudes,
90-year-olds.
small dudes. Yeah.
Yeah,
90, yeah.
small dudes, big dudes. Yeah, women. There's a variety of people that look fit, people that look like they're just starting. So it's
Women.
not bad.
That's really funny.
Wait, what? Women in there now?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're allowing women in there now. Apparently.
Next thing you know, they'll be wanting to vote.
Yeah. Absurd.
You know, it's funny.
I
There's
thought Trump
probably
was going to fix all this shit. Oh, well.
When you go to the gym, what's the ratio of men to women?
Oh, I don't know. It's like 50-50, man.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of women that work out. In
But
certain
just-
sections, you know.
Right. Like the gym back home, like I think it was a Planet Fitness when I was in high school. And it was like my sister and I would go together, like just for like the ellipticals and treadmills, but they had a women's only room.
Mm-hmm.
But we would go in there and there'd be like 3 people in there. And then the main gym's like full of dudes.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, at least at that time,
That's funny.
which I graduated from high school quite a long time ago, it was like, there's 3 women in here and 50 men. So that's awesome if it's a bit more mixed in your area.
It depends, I guess, the equipment. I feel like women usually are more in like the leg area. They're always working out the legs and stuff like that. Of course,
it's not about the legs, you know it.
Well,
I
they're
mean,
working their
you
butts
are-
out too. Their
Are in
glutes.
LA, though. I imagine it's a bit of a different demographic.
Yeah, well, I'm in Orange
Yeah,
County,
LA
but like
butt.
same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
good point.
it's pretty good. It's like 50-50, honestly. It's great.
You know what? I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out when the least busy times and when the most busy times, and I'm always surprised. You know, I'm like, we're going
Yeah.
Thursday night at 9:00. It's going
I
to be
think it's
dead.
different for
It's
every
packed.
gym. Yeah. No, yeah.
I can't figure that
People-
out.
Yeah.
I can't
Right.
get.
Because, like you, Brad, different hours, but like Cog, I know, often
Late
goes to the
night.
gym like at night
Okay.
after work.
Okay.
And then we have people in our Discord who are like, I go to the gym at 5 a.m. before work.
Yeah, I
it
can't
feels
do
like there's
that.
really no time of day when it won't be
I couldn't
busy
even
do
because
that.
it's just, you start to realize that everyone is on a weird schedule.
Yeah.
And we're all just bopping around.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good point. And our gym, I mean, you could go to any Planet fitness location, but the one in our town, we live in a pretty rural place where they're not having it 24 hours. So ours closes. Not every location closes. Some are 24 hours. So we got to operate within those parameters, which is fine because he needs to get to bed anyway, right?
Yeah.
He's 14. So I'm trying to figure it all out. That's why I'm asking the questions. Yeah, as far as ratio here, it's mostly guys, but it's probably pretty close. It's like 60-40, you know? And then that's the thing too. I don't know if I know yet because it's not always the same people. We're only like a week or so in. So it's, you know, trying to figure out. I would like it to be a little less crowded when I start doing the weights just because I don't know like the culture yet. Like I don't know like how it works as far as like the rules, how much room I should be taking up, where I should be doing things. You know what I mean? Like the way people are rotating with the equipment and stuff. So I'm trying to figure all that out, like all the ins and outs.
Have you asked your son what her name is yet, or no? Just curious.
My aunt was like, "Why is he so into it? Is he doing it for the girls or whatever?" And I was like, "I really don't know.
He's just for the girls or whatever he's into. The guys, he's doing. He ain't doing it for his heart at this age.
He's doing it for Goku. I want to be strong.
Sure.
No,
Yeah. See Vegeta's physique. Yeah.
Exactly. Dagan, you should see if they have an option to do like just a one-time session with a trainer because a lot of gyms offer that.
Yeah.
And then they'll show you everything and you can ask all your questions and like not feel dumb at all. Like if you book just one hour session with a trainer and they'll show you all the ropes of this is how you should set up and how to be polite, like and then it's a completely neutral ground of like, yeah, this guy's the expert. He works here.
I need that. I actually need it because I realize how lost I am in a gym. Helene and I went years ago to like a fitness club and all I did was run on a treadmill. Like that's, and nowadays I just prefer doing what Colin does. Like I walk outside 4 to 6 miles. I prefer that over walking on a treadmill. I just like getting outside. I like getting into nature. So I'm basically going to accommodate, Graydon because Graydon can't be unsupervised there.
Right.
But I'm not doing what he does. So yeah, I'm figuring it all out, but I'm full of questions and full of piss and vinegar. My friend's Jaffe. It's good to see you, my dude.
You as well. You guys as all well. It's nice to be here. Appreciate you having me. Thank you much.
We'll do it again soon.
He's waving that Slim Jim around.
Yeah, the Slim Jim pipe.
Imagine Gandalf had a Slim Jim and not a pipe. That would be a whole different
first draft, second draft. You never know.
Dude, it's like there was that South American like Star Wars like TV showing where they spliced in Cerveza Crystal.
Yeah.
Right, and so it's like that would be like the South American equivalent of like they're sponsored by Slim Jim.
Was that
and
real?
They, like, just
was that real though? Like
I believe it was real because they have done that with other TV movies where they do splice in sponsorships like just as part of it.
Oh my God.
So I think it was real.
The earlier conversation with AI now, it'll just put a fucking logo on the side of Millennium Falcon while it's flying by and get your money and keep the story going, McDonald's or something,
It's only a matter of time.
Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
Literally.
It's overdue actually.
Yep.
It's taking
hey, so real quick, what is this? What is a gym?
Somewhere to get in shape, get physically in shape.
Oh, that doesn't sound fun at all.
I feel the same way.
Sometimes it's not.
Oh my God!
Sometimes it's not fun.
Place.
Yeah.
It's trash. You just put a little bike inside your house and watch Game Grumps. That's how I work out.
That sounds good to me.
That really sounds. When you're doing something, and obviously I'm doing it for my kid, but like you just know inherently like this isn't for you. And you kind of always knew, and now it's just reaffirming it.
Yeah, and then you're just like, you know what? Oh, that or death? Death sounds better. Death's okay. Nothing wrong with death. Everybody's got to go through it.
I'm trying to be enthusiastic for him. It's just like, it's a whole thing, man. It's a whole thing. Listen, I'll wrap this up for us, you guys. Patreon.com/LastStandMedia for early ad-free access, as always. And LastStandMedia.store has the merch. Mama Micah will send you out your package. This is what she does. It's her pleasure. Is it not your pleasure?
No, I like sending out the packages. I like going to the post office. It reminds me of being a kid.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah. Post offices still exist. I don't know how banks still exist, though. What's going on with banks? Why don't they just close? We don't need them anymore. I mean, we need them, but we don't need the physical brick and mortars, do we? But
I think we
goes in?
do.
Do we?
Ours is often very busy.
Is it
Full
really?
of people. Oh my God. There's a lot of businesses though that use the bank for their change. Like I'll be at the bank and I'll see the dude from the mall getting change, which I used to have to do myself.
That's a good point.
Like there's a lot of stores here that are going to the banks to fill up their cash registers.
And then they got to do their drops, right, at night. So that's
exactly.
like a whole
I had
thing.
to do that.
Yeah, maybe I should just shut up. It's like, Dagan, you've been out of retail for so long. It's like that everybody just gets to animate from home, you fucking idiot. That's fair. That's fair. Listen, for Micah, Brad, and Jaffe, I'm Dagster Moriarty saying thank you so much for joining us. You're appreciated. We love you. Thanks for putting up with my voice. Hopefully it'll get better in the days to come. I'm sure it will. Join us next week. The weeks go quick. Listen, it feels like, you know what I mean? It's Friday. Tomorrow's going to feel like Friday. So don't miss us too much. And in the meantime, you can go listen to your second favorite podcast. Now get out. Peace.
Constellation is a product of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show was conceived by and is directed and hosted by me, Colin Moriarty. My co-host is my brother, Dagan Moriarty. The show is produced by Last Stand's executive producer, Dustin Furman. All Last Stand theme music is by Ramon Narvaez, and all of our graphics and logos are by Dagan Moriarty. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's podcasts, including Constellation, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest support tier, and we're infinitely grateful for your thoughtful and kind contributions to our independent endeavor.